Here we go. Let me add myself in. What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Man, it's been a fun day so far. Let me tell you. First off, I apologize. I was a little bit late. I pushed it back a couple about 15 minutes because as we'll talk about with the 50,000 subscribers celebration that we'll be doing here in a bit, I've had these opportunities to work with different sponsorships, and I'll just say this: it's a sponsorship that I got in the mail yesterday. And let's just say I'm not the best in assembling things. It's something you have to put together, and I kind of underestimated the time. I was trying to do it and have it set up before today's live stream, but it kicked my ass. So I wasn't able to get it set together. Hopefully tonight I'll have it ready for our Succession after show. But yeah, man. But we're here now to celebrate the 50,000 subscribers, which again, it just blows my mind to even say that number out loud. And then later in the stream, and is really going to be the bulk of the stream. We're going to be previewing all the new movies coming out this summer because it's been a while, man, as we'll talk about a little bit later. It's been a while since we actually had summer releases, and there's some good ones, a lot of good ones to look forward to. So we'll be breaking that down, highlighting some, what's the film about, my expectations, if I'm excited, if I'm not excited. I'll be doing some like box office predictions that we'll probably, follow up on at the end of the summer. And just have a good time, man. Again, I love doing these live streams with you all, interacting with you all, and celebrating things like 50,000 subscribers and talking movies, because that's what this channel is all about, is having fun, talking about movies, talking about shows, of course, and just so many other things. So it's going to be a fun time, and I really do appreciate you all that are joining me live, that'll be coming in here, and also those that are watching the replay, man. I really appreciate you all clicking on this video. So with that being said, man, let me say what's up to the people that's in the live chat now. And then again, kind of the structure of today's live stream. I'm going to try to keep it, we have fun on this channel, man. I'm going to try to keep it under an hour and a half as far as the celebration, and then the back half of the preview, but we'll see where it goes, man. We have a good time on this channel. We have a lot of good discussions and stuff like that. So we'll see where this discussion takes us today. But before I say what's up to everyone in the chat, and to get everything started again, if you're tuning in now for the 1,000th time or the first time, I really do appreciate you all. And let's get this party started, man. So let me see who we got in the chat first and say what's up to the chat. We had people, I think, yesterday. And of course, Rims, a big supporter of the channel. She this was yesterday. She left this in the live chat. She said, love, all love. Always, Elliot. Well, Rims, it's all love. It's reciprocated back to you. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk about it with the live, the celebration here in a second. But it's people like you and a lot of other people on this channel that support the channel that means the absolute world to me. So appreciate you, Rims. I don't know if you're here quite yet, but I thank you for the early comment that you left yesterday. And then my man Kevin Washington, man, is another big supporter, and we agree on a lot of shows, man. Kevin's a big show watcher and movie watcher like myself, but we collaborate or kind of converse in the comment section about the shows that we love, man. So a big shout out to Rims, big shout out to Kevin. He's saying I'm gonna head and leave a like early. Congrats on 50K. Well, I appreciate you, Kevin. We got Kevin Davis in the chat, X10. We'll be international. We'll be, again, when I get to that portion of the stream today, Kevin, we'll be pivoting over to some predictions about some of these blockbuster films. We'll be definitely talking about The Flash, and another big supporter on the channel here showing some love early, and that's Zia Latrice with the $9.99 super chat, the super sticker. No comment, just or less if there is a comment. I don't see one attached, but the love is out there, and I really appreciate it, Zia. You're another person that's been following me for a while, and I also know I've seen you on other people that I consider to be close friends of mine in this space. I see supporting Brandon and E-Man and all the great content creators that I've had the pleasure of collaborating with and chopping it up with. So I appreciate the love, Zia, on not just my channel, but supporting a lot of us in this space, because it is a big pond with a lot of fish. And the fact that you, take the time to support this channel means a lot to me. So thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you for all the support thus far on the channel. You guys, Kevin, put a pin in that, because later on, Kevin, we will be talking some box office. So keep those comments for a little bit later, my friend, because we will be getting into some predictions, man. Oh, is that I think that might be attached to Zia's super chat. So thank you so much, Zia. Thank you. Let's see here. Stress Free Gay, what's going on? Another a person that's into a lot of the shows I watch. 100,000K just around the corner. I can feel it, man. Hey, speaking to existence, man. I appreciate you. Thank you, Zia. Congratulations on Rita. Thank you. So, on that note, man, let me just, we were under 10 minutes. We're going to give it a couple more minutes before we actually get into the, I guess, just kind of the origins of the channel and kind of where the channel started to where it's at now and all that stuff. So I'm going to give a couple more minutes before we get into that kind of side of the stream. But in the meantime, man, like I said, today's been an interesting day so far, because I was trying to put together, again, I have a sponsorship that I'm going to be collaborating here in a bit, hopefully sooner rather than later, so I'm going to make a video and everything for it. But came in the mail yesterday. Super excited for it. And I put it off to this morning. I slept in a little bit later. I didn't want to, but it's Sunday. a day to relax. So I slept in a little bit and was trying to put this particular item together, and it didn't work out. The timing didn't happen, but I'm gonna, after today's stream, I'm gonna hopefully have it put together by tonight for Succession. But besides that, man, it's been a fun weekend. If you guys don't know, I'm a big basketball fan, and I've been following the playoffs. Obviously, my two teams that I keep an eye out for all season. One is a team I've been following for almost 20 years now, or 20 plus years, which is the Lakers. Kobe's my favorite player of all time, but after he retired, I still kept my eye on the Lakers. But then after he transitioned out, I was my second favorite team was the Warriors for a while, because out there in the same division, and I've been watching Curry and Thompson and Green and Kerr, and Mark Jackson prior to Steve Kerr kind of put that team together. And man, it was on one side, I was happy for my Lakers. On the other side, I'm a big Warriors fan. So it was a blowout. It was an ass whooping for back-to-back games. But for any basketball fans out there, y'all know what I'm talking about as far as the Warriors and Lakers. But yeah, besides that, watched that yesterday and just been chilling, man, getting the stream prepared. So again, we got a couple more people in the chat, and I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes before we get into the actual fun, which again is celebrating not just on my end, but celebrating you guys for helping me get to this accomplishment. And then, like I said, the second half of the stream will be really focusing on the summer movie 2023 preview. And we got a lot of films to go over today. So with that said, before we get into it, man, I see my man, which again, I'm going to get into this in a little bit when we get into the milestone that recently was crossed. But Brandon from Just My Opinion Reviews with a $50 super chat. And again, I'm going to save this for a little bit later when we get to that portion of the video. But it's people like Brandon and many others that I've met on this journey of YouTube that have really made this journey that more enjoyable. Obviously, I got the community, but it's collaborating with Brandons and collaborating with some other YouTubers, talking to them about not only just YouTube, but just other stuff, man. And it's people like B that I really appreciate, that I've been able to meet on this journey. And Brandon, I really appreciate you, man. And you're knocking on the door of 50K, 60, 70, all the way up to 100, man. So I appreciate you, Brandon. But he says, congratulations on the 50,000 subscribers, my brother. Elliot, I'm really proud of you, sir. Keep working hard. You'll be at 100,000 subscribers before you know it. Hashtag MovieFiles. Well, thank you, Brandon, and same to you, my man. Congratulations to you on all the continued success. One of the best movie roundup shows every week. He got his new superhero show that he does. He'll be doing later today. And all his incredible reviews for movies and shows, and assembling a lot of us collaborating together. I linked up with E-Man because of Brandon and met Lamont and Larry and various others throughout the YouTube journey that I've been on, that Brandon has put me in connection with. So I appreciate you, man, and your continued success. And like I said, you're knocking on the door of 50K, man, and onward for you too. So thank you so much, Brandon, for the love and support, man. And if you guys haven't already, which I'm sure you guys have, but just in case you haven't, check out Just My Opinion Reviews and subscribe to that amazing YouTube channel. So appreciate you, B. So with that said, man, I guess it's appropriate enough to kind of get into, we've been on the stream long enough. Let's just get into the celebration side of it all, which is, again, for those that are tuning in and have been a part of this journey, 50,000 subscribers, man. And I want to first and foremost thank you all that have maybe been a part of this journey since the beginning, which I remember the date, not exactly, but I know it's September. It might be September 4th, if I'm not mistaken, September 4th of 2017. So to make a long story short, and it'll probably be a longer story than it is short, but my YouTube journey started prior to 2017. I had a YouTube channel when I was in college, and it was like a variety channel of movie reviews, a couple TV shows, some video games back when I was a big gamer, unboxing videos, a couple trailer reactions. Like I remember doing a trailer reaction for Dark Knight Rises, and it was the most bootleg trailer reaction you'll ever see. I was like, it wasn't even a reaction. It was me using I think it wasn't a flip phone, but it was like a Nokia phone. I was recording the trailer, and it wasn't even, listen, your boys come a long way. Let's just say that. But prior to MovieFiles, I did, like I said, I had a channel. Didn't really go anywhere. It was most of a hobby. It was just kind of, it was during when I was in college. And again, it was just kind of something fun to do. And even prior to that starting, I was always a fan of films and TV shows growing up as a kid. And even prior to that, or not prior to being a kid, but growing up, I would always attach myself to, when I was in high school, I took a movie class. When I was in college, I went to get my degree in film and video. So I've always wanted to be a part of the film discussion in some way, somehow. And like I said, I went to college for film and video, did all that, learned some incredible things, met some incredible people. Was able to do a lot of the stuff that I watch on television, which is make a movie, edit a movie, direct a movie, write a movie, do lighting, do camera. I've done all the behind the scenes stuff. So when when it comes to my reviews, I do always want to make it a point to point out those things of the filmmaking. And even if I don't like a film, I always have that appreciation from having made films of like, even though this film might have didn't work for me narratively or didn't, look as clean as it could have been, I always show appreciation to that side of the filmmaking because I've been a part of that. So long story short, on that aspect, it was once I graduated, I had to be an adult, moved out pretty early. I think I had my first place when me and my girlfriend at the time moved in together when I was 19 or 20. So, going to school for film and video, the idea was to somehow, some way find myself in the industry, whether it was directing or script writing or whatever the case may be. But I did it all, y'all. Like when I went to school for film and video, I did every single aspect of filmmaking, but I never really found the thing that I attach myself to. So unfortunately, with that being said, as you become an adult and you don't really have I really couldn't find my key point to what I wanted to do in the industry. Had to pay bills. So, with that being said, man, I still watched movies, watched shows, but I didn't make videos like I used to when I was in college. So, again, I always want to give credit when credit's due. My girlfriend at the time was the one that really pushed me towards bringing my channel back, or bringing a new version of the channel back, and being a little bit more focused and just having like random stuff on my first channel. So, I always appreciate for what she, kind of put me on that path, and she helped me out on a lot of videos early on, and all that stuff. But, so 2017, I started MovieFiles, and it was definitely more focused than my first channel because it was focused on reviewing movies, but more importantly, it was a consistent side of reviewing movies and also consistency with reviewing shows. And it was still a hobby because I still had to pay my bills. It was never really as I am now, where I'm at, where I want this to be, and it will be, we'll speak that into existence, a full-time opportunity for me to do this on a regular basis. But during the 2017 run of MovieFiles, it was just like a fun thing because my job at the time, it still is my job at the time, was very, I had to be focused on that. And whenever I had free time, it was, go see the latest movie. It might not be that Thursday night or that Friday, but over the weekend, and then give you all a review. And I did that consistently. And that's the thing that I want for everyone out there that wants to be a content creator or just anything in life. I'm being honest with you, not to make this too preachy, but consistency is key in anything that you do in your life. So even though, my channel wasn't necessarily taken off in the first 2 years, it was something that I still got enjoyment out of, making videos, having a fun time putting them together, so on and so forth, building something from the ground up. And for those first 2 years of my channel, from 2017 to September until I want to say October of 2019, again, it was consistent. I was having fun. I was reviewing stuff that I enjoyed talking about, movies and shows. Like I would cover American Horror Story, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, and then all the, Marvel movies, DC movies, Star Wars movies. But I remember, again, it was a hobby, but I'll never forget 750 or 749 subscribers was what I had built up until that point. And listen, your boy was happy to just have one subscriber during that time, because again, it was just a hobby. It was just like a kind of a passion project, if you want to call it that. But then as I had in my professional career, as time went along, and again, remembering the origins of me going to school for film and video and still have that in the back of my mind, like I want to still do that in a way, my passion shifted back into, I want to find a way back into covering movies, doing movies, whatever the case may be. So in 2019, I remember it was October 2019 when The Joker first came out, I had said to myself, I really want this to become a reality, to cover movies on a regular basis and to potentially make this into a full-time opportunity. So I remember I said to myself, I sat down, and you guys got to remember in 2019, this was not the origins of streaming, but it was the origins of the streaming wars. And by what I mean by wars is, at that point in time, we had Netflix, which was king of the hill for many, many years. It was Hulu out there, but it was really no competition besides Netflix. But then the announcement came out of 2019, or even prior to that, like a year or two later, Disney Plus. HBO's been around, but HBO Max was not a thing, but HBO was really putting the emphasis on streaming content, and Apple TV Plus. So I said, alrighty, let's challenge yourself to make this dream a reality in the coming years. I told myself I was going to cover all the Apple TV Plus shows that came out the fall of 2019, all the new Disney Plus shows, which during that time was The Mandalorian, and covering more stuff on HBO, because I've always been a fan of HBO. But at that point, the only thing I had covered on my channel was the last season of Game of Thrones. So that fall was kind of the origins, if you want to call it that, or like a 2.0 of like a channel trajectory of like, mostly it was movie reviews and then occasionally a TV show review of something that I had time to watch. But then I had made the pivot over to focusing more on dividing that kind of coverage on movies, but also putting a priority on shows. So that fall was really when my channel kind of found some momentum and went from 750 subscribers for the first 2 years to up to 1,000. Finally hit 1,000 beginning of 2018, and so on and so forth. But again, it was that switch of the channel trajectory where I covered. It was Watchmen came out in 2019. I want to say Lovecraft Country came out in 2019 on HBO. And then from the Disney side, I was covering The Mandalorian. Apple TV Plus, I was covering the first seasons of C, Servant, Truth Be Told. What else was there? That astronaut show that's slipping my mind right now, that's I think still going on right now, where it's like the space wars. What if Russia landed on the moon for America? I can't remember the name of that show, but I covered that, and other things too. Just know that I covered a lot of stuff, and it was in that year for me that I put in a lot of work, and the work paid off. Because again, the 2 years I was consistent, but I wasn't as focused on covering so many different things at one time. And I saw the growth, man. And from there, we transitioned into 2020, and we all know what that year brought us with the pandemic and being at home. And, not to put a bright spin on it, because it was definitely a dark time for a lot of us. A lot of people, unfortunately, not only lost their jobs, but lost their lives, lost their family members. So again, we all know the history of the pandemic, and we're still, still coming out of it per se. But it was during that year, and again, not to put light on it, but it was during that year, for my channel at least, that we were all at home. And that was the year of collaborations, man. That was the year I met a Brandon, even though I was watching Brandon prior to that, but that was like the first time we really worked together that year. Just a variety, like literally, that was the year of watch parties. I don't know if you guys have been a part of this channel for a while. I was doing watch parties like every other week or every week, maybe at one point. Movie watch parties, TV show watch parties, live discussions. Of course, the Marvel shows were out, so I started a channel, or started an after show, if you want to call it that, with two amazing people that I still interact with today, and can't wait to catch up with them again and hopefully do more collabs in the future. But that's Chris from Tay's Take and Amanda from Canon Cinema. We hosted a Marvel after show every week for WandaVision, Low Key, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all those shows. And during all those shows, which was, again, the year of collaboration, again, Brandon Keith Avery, E-Man, Sharonda, Austin Burke, Chris from 3C Films, Sean Chandler, Paul from Heavy Spoilers, Matthew from Soups, just so many great creators that I've watched over years. To be able to have them on the channel during that time was just mind-boggling. And that was the year of collaborations. And during those collaborations, not only did I meet some great people, but again, the growth of the channel was still happening. So 2021 comes around, and obviously we were still in the pandemic, but the movies at home, right? We had the HBO Maxes, same day movies coming out: King Kong, Mortal Kombat, Suicide Squad, Judas and the Black Messiah. So I was still, doing the heavy coverage. And not to fast forward 2 years, but here we are now, man. 2023, May 7th, 50,000 subscribers. So again, for me, 2019 was a year that I said I wanted to try to make this into an opportunity to be a full-time job. And come 2023, I'm not there quite yet, but I can say that this YouTube space has become definitely a part-time job. And even so much so that there's some months, not to get too deep into the weeds, but there's some months where, I'm fortunate enough to not only have the YouTube AdSense, but, you guys support the channel via super chats and, PayPal or Cash App and sponsorship opportunities. That there were some months in the last year or two that my YouTube, channel was bringing in more income than my regular job. So the possibilities are endless in that sense. So hopefully, again, within the next year, I can pivot over to this being the full-time job. And I always like to keep my hands in different pots, so it wouldn't just be like just YouTube. I always like to do like side hustles, so that would still be a thing, but the majority of my time would be focused strictly on making content, doing live streams, so on and so forth. So that's kind of my story. I don't know how long that was, 10 minutes or so, as far as my YouTube journey and kind of the trajectory of the channel and kind of the behind the scenes of the growth and all that stuff. But that's that side. But then there's the other side of it, which is you guys. As I had mentioned, Brandon Keith Avery, Sharana for Pay Your Weight, Eman from Eman Movie Reviews, Austin Burks, Chris from Movies and Munchies, and that's just to name a few. There's so many people on this platform that I'm a fan of, that I admire, that I look up to, that I've had the opportunity to collaborate with. And there's a list of them. I don't want to just limit it to those people. There are so many people that I support in this space and that I'm a big fan of. And I'm saying all that to say that I don't just watch them. You all watch them. So I'm bringing it back to you all because I know that this YouTube space can be somewhat daunting and can be saturated with a lot of movie review channels and so on and so forth. And so many great content creators that have a lot of great things to say on the things that we love. But the fact that you guys come to my channel, I don't want to neglect or ignore that feat within itself, because not only is there YouTube out there, but there's Twitch, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's movies and shows. There's so much, so much stuff that consumes us and takes up our time and stuff that we're entertained by. And the fact that you all support the channel on a consistent basis, and you all know who I'm talking about, the people that I mentioned earlier in the stream that's sending in super chats and like and share and comment, all that stuff, it means the world to me, man. I really, really appreciate y'all, because not to get too sentimental and mopey and stuff, but I don't really bring my personal life to my YouTube channel because I feel like you all have your own personal stuff you deal with, whether it's work, family, friends, relationships, so on and so forth, life, right? We all have life outside of watching YouTube videos. So I never really want to bring my personal stuff to the channel because I just want this to be a channel of fun, having a good time, debate, conversate, maybe disagree with some things, but at the end of the day, still have love for one another and respect for one another. But I never really want to bring my stuff into that because, again, I respect you guys' time and I respect you guys' your personal lives. So I never want to put that on you guys. But I will just say, life is not perfect on my side of the things, man. And I say all that to say you guys have helped me. You all, the community, have just helped me build this channel, have really helped me, do some dark times, man. Your boy, life isn't easy for me, man. It's been some really dark times. Obviously, like I mentioned, the last 3 years for all of us has been rough. But even prior to that, man, just had some things, that life-changing things, and life comes at you sometimes. And of course, you never know. It's not scripted like these shows or movies that we watch. There's no rhyme or reason to certain things. So, but I say that to say, man, you guys have helped me through my personal life because I love interacting with you all. I can't wait to make videos. I still love this as if this was just day one of me starting the channel. And I love the tedious things sometimes, not all the time, but editing videos is still fun to me. Coming up with a video idea, coming up with my thoughts of a review for a show or a movie and bringing my perspective on it, having these live discussions like we're having today. All this stuff to me is just as exciting as it was when I first started. So again, I bring it back to you guys because like I said, there's so much stuff to consume and there's so many great content creators to enjoy, and the support you guys give me really, really means a lot to me. From the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate you all for everything, man. And this is hopefully, this 50K is something that I really never, I always encourage people to set goals and to stick to those goals. And 50K was never really a goal for me. It was just more or less the feeling of just having like a sense of community was really the big thing that I wanted to create. And if numbers came with that, that's great. But the community aspect was something I really wanted to build. And this 50K and hopefully more is just the icing on the cake or the cherry on the top. But man, it's something that I don't take for granted. Is this huge accomplishment, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds for this channel, man. For not only the growth of the channel, but like I mentioned earlier, the opportunities from a sponsorship perspective. Which I'll probably do an ad here in a little bit because I do have some sponsors that I'll probably pull up during this live stream. But the sponsorship opportunities is something that's still mind-boggling to me, that people reach out and want me to sponsor their product. The opportunities I've gotten from a film perspective. I am a part of a film association out here where I live, and that's something that I just started a year ago. And as I mentioned in my little origin story, I've been doing this since 2017, and I just got into the film side of like film criticism to officially be a quote unquote critic just a year ago. So that came with this channel. And I'm not one to ever like boast and brag. I actually get uncomfortable about doing that. It's just a personality thing. But even the fact that last December and onward, I've been able to be on TV once a month, which is just crazy to say out loud, and to be able to be on a local news channel out here in my area and to talk movies for 3 to 5 minutes on television is just crazy. It's just crazy. But without you guys, I wouldn't have the sponsorships, the being able to be a part of a film association, be able to have the opportunities to be on television every month. It really boils down to you all. So again, from the bottom of my heart, this 50K doesn't happen without you. So yeah, you right there watching, whether we got the 24 people watching live or the people watching the replay that couldn't make it this Sunday afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot. And yeah, man. Yeah. It's something I don't take for granted. So let me get off my soapbox. There's that side from your boy Elliot from MovieFiles. But let me see what you guys have been talking about as I've been rambling for the last, I don't know, what feels like 10 minutes or so. But yeah, let's see. We got some movie stuff in here. Appreciate you. What's Zia talking about? That's cool. You still young enough to find a thing. Yeah, Zia, making movies is hard. And that's why, like I said, whenever I do a review, I never like make it hateful or personal to the director or writer or actors. Because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone in good conscience tries to make bad content, but some things just happen, right? But as far as making movies, we'll see what the future holds. Because like I said, I've made some student films back in the day, and like I said, it is not an easy task, but it is something that's very gratifying, very rewarding when you finally put an end product to something. You can see it, and other people take it in. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. But speaking of, again, another opportunity that this channel has given me is meeting great people. Yutaka from the Horror Hour is someone that I first met in February of last year, when there was a screening out here for the Batman. And not to put a location on things, but a certain content creator is where I live, is from this place. And I was able to meet that person for the first time. And in meeting that person for the first time, I met Yutaka. And fast forward a year later, me and Yutaka have not only made videos together with Scream, and he's been on a couple episodes of my after show that I have for The Last of Us, and was on a channel most recently. I think, Scream 6 was the last time we did a video together, but I've met him in person, which is so cool. We see each other at screenings. He was so cool to, what was the Evil Dead Rise? For whatever reason, I was able to buy the tickets from my phone. Like, he bought the tickets for me. And listen, this is someone I consider a friend, man. And Yutaka, can't wait to chop it up with you again soon, man. And like I mentioned, guys, I'm a big horror fan. His channel is all about horror and other things that they discuss too, but it's mostly like a horror show, hence the Horror Hour. Him and his crew over there has some great stuff, so definitely check them out. But he says, heck yeah, huge congrats, man. Well, thank you, Yutaka, and shout out to you on your growth and your journey with you and your team over there at the Horror Hour. Another great person I met in this space, another person I would recommend you all check out on YouTube, is Tyrian Rain Reloaded, man. Congrats on 50K. Thank you. Well, congrats. If I'm not mistaken, you're close to like 70, if I'm not mistaken, man. So shout out to you. He has an amazing channel covering, he does do, the occasional movie review or TV show review, but he talks about the stuff that goes on in the real world, man. And I really appreciate him putting his voice out there for people to hear about this stuff that really matters, and it's fun to talk movies and shows, but it's also important to talk about the other stuff that affect our day-to-day lives. And he definitely sheds a light on that stuff. So I appreciate you, Tyreen, and shout out to your success, man. We linked up a minute ago, like maybe about a year and a half ago with I'm a big fan of Atlanta. I don't know who reached out to who first, but nonetheless, we end up doing some videos with Atlanta, and we definitely got to catch up soon, Tyree. And I know you're a big Marvel and DC fan, so we got to catch up on some DC stuff, which we'll talk about in the second half of this video with a big DC project that is running into theaters, pun intended, pretty soon. But shout out to you, Tyree, and I appreciate you being here, man. Another amazing content creator that goes by the name of D Movie Man. Man, this dude has some amazing content, but more importantly, I haven't met him, but we've been able to collab. He's a really good person as well, man, and he has a great YouTube channel that he's building on his own that I'm loving seeing his growth as well. So shout out to D Movie Man, a person I would definitely recommend to you all. As you talk about seeing success, milestones, encouragement, and support of other YouTubers, including myself, and truly blessed. Here to y'all come. Hey, man. Thank you, D Movie Man. Like I said, we got to link up again soon, man. I know we covered. I think I had you on for Euphoria before and some other shows. So we definitely got to link up again, my friend. But shout out to you. Hope you're doing well. And I appreciate the support, my friend. I really do. I really do. Congrats. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jamie showing some love. I appreciate you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. And then Yutaka already showing some love coming in, but then coming in with the super chat. You deserve it. All your hard work. Well, thank you, Yutaka. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Xavier, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. And my man Kevin coming through. Keep pushing. Can see nothing and can see nothing but great things for your future. All love. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Was very appreciative of you having me on Atlanta after show. Yeah, those were fun, man. I miss Atlanta, Tyree. I miss it a lot. That was one of the all-time great shows that I definitely missed, but I'm definitely appreciative that show gave us the opportunity to collab, man, and hopefully we can do that again in the future, my friend. But again, y'all, if you're just tuning in, I'm gonna probably time code this once I'm finally done with this video today, but we spent about 20 minutes talking about the growth of the channel, where it started, where it stemmed from, where it's going, where I want it to go. Which I guess, to reiterate that, this will be, I'm going to speak it into existence by next year. This will be a full-time thing for me, because right now, like I mentioned, it's a part-time thing, but it definitely will be full-time come next year. So that is really where I want this channel to go. And as far as like content goes, of course, still movie reviews, TV reviews. But one thing that I have really, and I mentioned this earlier, as far as that 2020 year about the collaborations and the discussions, that's something that I really want to bring. I have been doing it, but I want to do it on a more of I'm doing it weekly because I do it every week with my after show session. But I just want to find some, and not necessarily like a movie show or a TV show, but just something where it's just like a discussion piece. And again, I'm still, putting it together in the head and hopefully have it out sooner rather than later. But I just love talking to people about movies and shows and discussing them and dissecting them and having an analysis and getting other people's perspectives, whether I agree or disagree. It's just such a fun interaction to me. So I definitely want to bring more of those things to the channel. And something that I just haven't found the time. I did it back, and again, 2020 was just a year of experimenting. But it was in 2020, I did this series of videos where I would go back to the year before to cover and review movies I might have missed the year before. But kind of within that realm is just covering movies that I haven't seen in a while, or that I haven't seen ever, and maybe even doing something like that where it's just like movie reviews, like throwback reviews. Shout out to Tyra from Struggle TV Review. She's been doing that for a while, where her community request certain movies and shows to get her thoughts on. But that's something I've been thinking about for doing for a bit. And like I said, did it in 2020 for 2019 movies, but I want to bring something like that back to the channel where we're having, and maybe not even a review, but maybe having a discussion about a classic movie or a movie I might have missed out on that came out in the 80s or the 60s or the 30s or something like that. So that's something I would like to bring. And then it's just a matter of getting the courage to leading up to it. But something I've been wanting to do for a while is the interview side of, I love these movies, I love these shows, but I love the people that make these movies and shows, and I would love to pick their brains and to talk to them about the stuff that they make. And yes, I know you don't just automatically have, your favorite Idris Elba on a personal YouTube channel talking about his career and stuff. You got to build your resume and build that type of name in the industry to have that type of access to talent. But I really want to bring that side of the communication and the entertainment to the channel. It's just a matter of building up, like I said, the courage. Your boy, I had the opportunity, and I'll always be appreciative of Mike Snow, who is a professional stunt performer for big movies. He's done Marvel stuff, he's done horror stuff. Last year, I interviewed him for The Northman. He was I believe he did a couple stunt doubles for Alexander Skarsgård, but he was in the movie as a stunt performer, but he was actually like in the movie as an extra. And I interviewed him for like an hour about the movie, about his career, about what he's working on. And that was a one-on-one conversation that I was so appreciative. It was an F up on my part. The audio was messed up on my end. But outside of that, it was and it's still on the channel. If you guys want to look it up, just type in, or you can go to MovieFiles and type in, I don't know, Mike Snow, The Northman interview. But that's something that I really was appreciative of him giving me his time. And I definitely got to link up with him again and just to catch up with him. But it's something I want to do more is, like I said, not necessarily press junkets. That's fun and that's so cool. And shout out to one of the best interviewers on this planet, Sharana from Pay Your Way. She is just so great with her interviews. So I know there's that side of it, but I really like that one-on-one, talk about a certain project, but also talking about what got them in that position. What do they want to do next? What was something that really, a story that they can share? Those are conversations that I really want to bring to the channel, hopefully sooner rather than later. But that is that side of today's, 40 minutes in. That is the celebration side of today's stream. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all that have gotten me to this point and that has been there since day one, that's been there maybe for the first time ever last year or last week or just today. If you're just watching my channel for the first time, I appreciate you. Every like, every share, every comment. And I love having conversations about when people in a polite way, in a respectful way, when we disagree with stuff and having those interactions, all that stuff to me means the world to me. So again, y'all, I don't get to this point without you. I don't get sponsors. I don't get, being able to be in a film association. I don't get the opportunity to be on TV and having all these opportunities without you all. So again, your boy appreciates you. So thank you. So let's get all the tissues and being all in my feelings, talking about how you guys make me feel. No, I'm joking. You guys are awesome. But enough of that talk. It's time to talk about the movies that are coming to theaters, ladies and gentlemen. It is the first time in a long time. And by long time, I'm talking about since 2019. This is the first time that we're actually getting a summer release slate. And what I mean by that is, if you think about 2020, we all know movies were on pause. 2021, straight to HBO Max, theater and movies at the same time. And in 2022, yes, we gotten some really good, entertaining blockbuster films in the theater, but not as much as we have this summer. Last year was really, the year of Top Gun Maverick, which deserved everything that it got as far as box office receipts, critical praise, so on and so forth. But it really wasn't like a true summer blockbuster. But ladies and gentlemen, 2023 is going to give us a true summer blockbuster slate, and that's what we're going to go over today, is all these new releases. I'm going to preview them, and it's just movies in the theater. There's tons of stuff coming out on streaming, Extraction 2 and all this different stuff, but we're mainly focusing on movies in theaters and mainly focusing on, and this is no disrespect to the smaller independent films, because if you guys follow this channel, I always champion for small independent films, and I try to cover as many as I can when I get the opportunity to see them. But it's mainly focusing on the tadpole, 150, 200 million blockbuster movie. So again, it's not undermining those smaller films. And I do have some some comedies that we'll bring up in this discussion, but it's mostly focusing on, again, the big blockbuster spectacle films and all that good stuff. So again, your Disney movies, your Universal movies, your Paramount, your Warner Brothers, so on and so forth. So that's what we're doing. But before we get into it, I see we got a couple comments, and then we'll pivot over to the festivities. Let's see what we got here. Appreciate you, Jessica. Appreciate you. Let's see here. I don't know if you spoke about it or not, but what is your thoughts on the writer strike? Well, that is great as you bring it up. So, and I was going to actually bring that up on the top of the breakdown here. But hey, perfect segue. So listen, short and sweet, the short end of the stick. I am standing with the writers that make these shows and make these movies that we're going to talk about here in a bit. So I definitely stand with them. And I've, in the last like 24 to 48 hours, I've done not necessarily a deep dive, but I've definitely put myself on game and did a little bit of research on what are the writers asking for? What are the writers asking for? Because of course, there's people out there that have this kind of it's just the elitists fighting against the elitists, these Hollywood people fighting against Hollywood. Who cares? But no, doing some research, it's without it's effed up. The stuff that they're asking for is very bare minimum stuff. And to keep in mind that the WGA is like compiled of like 9,000 people that are in that union, in the writer guild. And they're I think it was like 600. They're just asking for like a 4% increase in their pay with like 600 million or like a 3-year span, which is really not that much when you look at all the people that write these movies and shows that we love. The fact that Hollywood is being douchebag, being tight with their money. And you read the list of all the CEOs from the for Apple and for Warner Brothers with David Zaslav making, what did he make last? $275 million. Disgusting money. And know that they make all this money and they can't pay the people that help them make that money, that help them get in that position that they're in is mind-boggling. So to answer your question, Tyrian, yes, I support the WGA and the writer strike. As far as, on my end, because obviously I'm not going to drive to LA or fly to LA or, and walk on the picket lines with them, but I definitely support them in that sense. But as far as like the ways you can support them is to hurt the studio's wallet. And that is, of course, we're going to be talking about the movies coming out here that I'm excited for. But as far as the streaming side of it, I don't have Hulu anymore. And this is actually prior. I won't give it credit for this writing, but I don't have Hulu anymore. My Disney Plus is on hold. The one, because there's nothing out there on Disney Plus to really be excited about until Secret Invasion. But if you guys want to help the writers, man, hurt these studios where it hurts, which is their pockets, man. And that's unsubscribing from some of these shows and stuff like that. For me, I won't unsubscribe from all of them. I'll keep it 100% honest with you all, just from my livelihood. I cover a lot of these shows and stuff like that. So like HBO, I haven't unsubscribed yet. And Netflix, there's really nothing on Netflix. But neither here nor there, man. To go back to this question, Tyrian, I definitely stand with the writer strike and the way things are looking. And, sure, it's disappointing that some shows and movies might be delayed or shelved for this, but it's deservingly so, man. Because these people, again, from what I research, man, it's tough out there for writers, man, as far as the income. You got one project, you sell a script and it gets put aside, and then the whole residual side of TV writing, where obviously we've shifted from primetime television on national TV to now streaming, and the residuals from that has just been detrimental to them, where they used to make, you could make a pretty good side living on the residuals from TV shows, but now streaming, you can make like pennies on the dollar. So definitely stand with them. And the way it's looking, Tyree, and it's looking like, some analysts were thinking that it might be a couple weeks, maybe a month. From what I'm hearing, man, it might last 4 to 5 to 6 months. Some people are even anticipating a year, which, hey, if it comes to that, to get the studios off their ass and to get off their high horse and to pay these people what they need to be paid, then deservingly so. So, my long about way is, yes, I support these writers, and hopefully they can figure it out and pay them their money. Yes, we'd love to see you. We will, and shout out to you. I know you do some great interviews on your channel, man. What's up, The Geek Ledger? Keep doing your thing. Thank you, Sam. Jay saying congrats. well deserved. You're consistent, hardworking, and allow other kind of folks to come. Yeah, that's definitely. I'm a big advocate of letting people collab and to speak their thoughts on these things that we love. So thank you, Jay. And speaking of love, man, Niecy Smith, I have she gave me one of the best things I've ever gotten for a holiday, which was this past Christmas. She made this blanket with all the shows I've covered over the years and sent it out to me for Christmas. And I'm so appreciative of her for that awesome gift that I cherish very much, as well as just always being in the comment section, talking about these shows that we love and movies, and then come to the channel and show love with these super chats. Like today, $50 super chat. Niecy, I can't thank you enough, man. You're so great to the channel and a huge support to the channel. So thank you. She says, "Hey Elliot, congrats! I found you on Defending Jacob. That's an Apple TV Plus, a show that I highly recommend you all watch, starring Cap himself, the Mr. Chris Evans. Great show. Missed that show, and it's been so fun ever since. That was 2020. Niecy, was that when Defending Jacob came out? I think so, but whenever it was, like you said in your comment, that you've been supporting your boy since then, and in a major way, not just from from super chats, but again, it was 2020, April 2020. That gift you gave me last Christmas was seriously one of the best gifts I've ever gotten ever, especially the best gift I've ever gotten from a person that's part of the community. So I'm really appreciative of you and the support you've given this channel since 2020 with that great show and all the other shows that you comment on and support the channel on. So thank you, Niecy. You're great. You are truly great. I appreciate you so much, and I hope you're doing well on this hot Sunday out where I'm at. But shout out to Niecy. Pay them their money. What's going on, man? Terry saying so far, Blade has announced that they've been temporarily shut down production due to the strike, and they were supposed to. Yeah, I saw that, man. Yeah, Blade just can't catch a damn break. But again, man, they got to pay these writers. Man. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, again, support the writers. WGA, get your money, pay them their money. And because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have these movies that I'm about to talk about today. So again, I might make this into like a separate video, so don't mind me if I'm doing an intro. So with that being said, welcome everyone to a very special video that I have put together for you all, and that is highlighting and previewing the summer blockbusters of this 2023 summer slate. And this is an important video and a fun video to make because, and honestly, looking back on the last few years, this is the first time we've actually gotten a summer blockbuster slate all the way back to 2019, because if you go back to 2020, we all know what happened to the world and movies shut down. So there was really no summer blockbusters. There were really no movies coming out that year. Fast forward to next year, we were getting day in, day out releases, things coming on Paramount, things coming on Peacock, things coming out on Apple, coming out on HBO Max, same day. And we know it really wasn't a blockbuster experience in the theaters that year. Come 2022 of last year, yes, we got to Doctor Strange. We had some other films that came out that did pretty well financially, most importantly stemming out from Top Gun Maverick doing its thing last year, huge success. But it really wasn't, it was just that was like the biggest thing in the summer, and deservingly so because it was such a great movie. But 2023, as we're going to go over and obviously from a calendar standpoint, summer doesn't start till June, I believe June 21st of this year. But as far as the movies are concerned, the summer blockbuster actually probably started, if you're being honest, maybe in March, if we're being honest, with Creed and Scream, but definitely April with the biggest animated film so far this year and the biggest, highest grossing film so far this year in Super Mario Brothers. But May is really where it began. And just from my younger years, it used to be June, July. That was the time of the year that we would get into the theaters. That's where a lot of memories were made for me for going to the theaters during the summer as a kid. But now the slate has kind of pushed up a couple months, right? And as I'm recording this on May 7th, we just had a big blockbuster that released on Friday by the name of The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Got a lot of content on that movie that you guys can check out on the channel, but we're not going to be talking about that. So if you're watching a replay and watching live, like, why is he talking about Guardians? It's because it's already out. It's in theaters now, so I didn't want to spend too much time on that. But definitely a film I recommend you all checking out if you haven't already. Great send-offs with great characters that I fell in love with in 2014, and shout out to James Gunn with that film. But we're talking onward. We're going from May 10th and onward, and we're going to wrap this video up. We're going to go from May, June, July, and August, and highlighting all the big summer blockbusters for the summer. And this is no slight to the independent films that I support, that I champion for, but we're focusing on those 1 to 200 million budgets on the film, big blockbuster films in today's video. But by no means does that mean you can't go in the comments and say, hey, I'm excited for this film, that film. This is an independent film from A24. This is a horror film by Neon, and so on and so forth. So definitely this is an interactive video. So let me know what movie you're excited for in the comments. But as we break this down, not only will I be highlighting and giving you all my kind of anticipation level, if I'm excited for it, if I'm not too excited for it, if I'm on the fence about it, but we're going to get back into talking box office predictions, because that's something I used to do back when movies were out on a regular basis. So I will be giving you all some predictions on what I think will be the end result as far as the box office runs on those films. So we'll be getting to that and having a good time. But before we get into it, do your boy a favor. If you're excited for the summer blockbuster season, if you're excited for movies being back in the theater, and if you're also a supporter of the WGA getting their money, hit a thumbs up on this video, share this video. But again, leaving your thoughts on the summer blockbuster slate in the comments from what you're most excited for, who will win the box office come this summer of 2023, and all that fun stuff. Let's talk about it in the comments below. So with that being said, and also, by the way, just a quick pause for all those people watching live. I will be interacting with you all, but I'm gonna go over each month first. So I'm gonna go over the May slate and then June, but in between the different months, I'm gonna check in with you all, see where you're at, get your predictions, see what you're excited for, talk about films I might have missed on this slate. So I will be interacting with you all. So it won't just be a talking head. I will interact with you all once we kind of break it up into the different months. So with that being said, let's kick things off with what's coming out for the remaining of this month as far as the big blockbusters coming out in May. And again, not ignoring what came out this past weekend, which was Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, you can check out all my content on that, but we're going to fast forward a couple weeks. And speaking of fast forwarding, not the best segue, but the word fast coexists with Fast X, or as I've been told by the people that are going to be inviting me to the screener in a couple weeks, it's Fast 10. Yes, it is an X, but they wanted to be called Fast 10 because this is the 10th film in this franchise, which I need to remind you of. This franchise has been around since 2001. Last time I checked, carried over to 1 divided to 5. That is 22 years that this franchise has been around. That is insane. That is ridiculous that this franchise is still around. But yes, Fast 10 will be coming to theaters on a Friday, May 19th. Of course, we know we'll have the screeners and the screenings that previous Thursday. So of course, people will be doing that. But for the nationwide audience, Fast 10 will be coming to theaters on May 19th. And as you all can see, it's the whole family's coming back, right? We got Dom, we got his crew, we got some new villains that we're rocking with this time around, played by Jason Momoa, who I am a fan of, Drago, Aquaman, you name it. My man is the villain of this film. And I'm going to be honest with you all. Look, I would say I'm a casual fan of this franchise. I do own certain films of the franchise, and that is the best ones for me, which is Fast 5, 6, and 7. Those three films to me is like the quintessential Fast and Furious movies as far as just fun, entertaining. They still give you some racing aspects of the movie. As we fast forward to 8 and 9, is kind of winning off the rails. We're in space and all this craziness. But listen, man, I respect that this franchise has found a way to reinvent itself midway point of the franchise, with Fast 4 really kind of getting more into the spy, espionage, action genre, and kind of veering off from what it all stemmed from back in 2001, which was, street racing. And it was almost like a ripoff of, the Keanu Reeves film and the Patrick Swayze film, which is slipping my mind at the moment. But here we are, 2023, and we got Fast 10. Excitement, I would say, is kind of mid. I wasn't the biggest fan of 8. but I definitely wasn't a fan of 9 with Dom versus his brother that came out of nowhere, played by John Cena, who I'm a fan of, but his character in Fast 9 was not for me, and it was just ridiculous, man. It was just like, how are they still alive? How did Tyrese not get crushed by that tank? It was just a lot of ridiculousness, but Fast 10, the trailers have been interesting. I will admit, and I've seen some clips in the last few days, that Jason Momoa seems to be hamming it up. Like he's not there to be the Jason Statham type of menacing villain or Luke Evans character in the sixth one. He's here to be, to give Dom something to not, ignore, but he's also hamming up and seems to be having a good time with it. So we'll see. We got him coming to the mix. We got Brie Larson that's going to be a new character to the mix. There's been some, rumblings about they're going to somehow bring Paul Walker back into it, which they did get to consent from the family. So as long as the family's okay with it, it's still kind of, morally speaking, kind of weird. He passed away, unfortunately, when they were filming Fast 7, but apparently he might be in the movie as Brian. And I know The Rock said he's done with this franchise. He's wiping his hands clean. And I don't know what's going on with Hobbs and Shaw, which I actually enjoyed that film. But I got a feeling in my stomach, man. My gut's telling me he's going to pop up in this film. I no inside scoop, no nothing, no anything. I just got a feeling that he's going to come back. And he might not be in the movie, like in the story, in the narrative, but I feel like The Rock as Hobbs will show up in like a post-credit scene. I might be wrong, but we'll see. But let me know in the comments if you all are excited for Fast 10 coming out May 19th. Now, the question at hand is box office wise. These films have been pretty successful. They were, the first 3 or 4 were floating around at $200-300 million. Then 4 came out and went up to like 4. 5 came out and made like 600. Then we got to Fast 6 and 7, and that was in the billions. And then 8, I think, was right around 9 or possibly $1 billion. And then 9 came out of the pandemic. But even for a pandemic film, it made like 700 million, which is crazy. It would have made $1 billion if under the circumstances. But I am feeling confident to give this film box office. I'm thinking of competition. I'm thinking of regardless of how I felt about the last few films, there is a huge fan base for this franchise that are into racing, that are into action, that love Dom Toretto and the family and all these different characters. They're going to come out and they're going to come out and support this movie. And the movies are back, y'all. The summer blockbusters are back. I'm giving, by the end of its run, Fast 10 will accumulate $930 million. That's right. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Of course, we'll revisit this in the summer, but I'm going to go ahead and give you guys each one of mine. I'm doing $930 million for its box office receipts once it's finally done in theaters. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if it made a billion potentially, but I'm just thinking about the competition that we're going to go over here in a little bit. I'm thinking about the shorter times that movies are in theaters as far as, being on Paramount and being on some streaming service. I wouldn't be surprised if it made $1 billion, but I don't know if it's going to necessarily crack that $1 billion mark. So that's my prediction, $930 million once it's said and done in this theatrical run. But what say you? Let me know. What are you thinking about with this film? Are you excited? If you're not excited, what will it make in the box office? And will The Rock be back? Let me know in the comments below. But that's Fast X coming out May 19th. Now, this next film here has been a film in a lot of people's heart and been in their memories when they were growing up as a kid. And, in the 90s, excuse me, caught a little hairball there in the 90s, and is arguably one of the best Disney films for a lot of people out there, y'all. Not necessarily mine. It was, I was more into the Lion Kings of the world and, Aladdin and stuff like that. But nonetheless, this is still a film that I can appreciate and looking forward to seeing what comes of it, ladies and gentlemen. And that is coming out on May 26th. The Little Mermaid, ladies and gentlemen. The Little Mermaid, which is definitely making a splash to the theaters. And I thought I had a screen grab of it, but apparently I didn't. But we're going to rock with it. Little Mermaid, Hailey Bailey. We got playing, of course, the icon Ariel. We have, Javier Bardem. We have just a really solid cast. And listen, I'm not going to really speak on the controversy and those racists out there that want to say something about a mermaid not being black. We're not going to even give them any acknowledgement. But I am, from the trailers I've seen and from the test screenings that I've heard about so far for the film, apparently we might have a hit on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. And I am really excited to see what Haley can bring to the role, and just from the vocals. My goodness, chills every time I hear her singing these songs. So I know she's going to bring her A game. I'm such a fan. I don't listen to all her and her sister music, but I appreciate what they're doing from that standpoint, just kind of building their resume and just kind of what they stand for. I'm a big fan of what they're doing. Really excited to see her in a role. You know, Melissa McCartney is someone that I used to love, but I've come to kind of, hit or miss for me, especially those comments she continues to make with her husband. And listen, work with who you like to work with. But damn, her husband kind of brings her down. Those films that she's in with him just really kind of doesn't work for me on a lot of points, but I still think she's a Academy Award winning actress. And her playing Ursula has been something I've heard from the CinemaCon footage that she fits the role. So I'm excited to see her. And of course, you got Awkwafina, you have Jacob Tremblay and Dave Deves, and I know a lot of people have been coming out about some of the Sebastian and all the different looks and Flounder looking crazy in these streets. I'm hoping that it's one of those scenarios where when we see still images and we see a couple clips here and there, that it doesn't look as defined as it probably look, or refined as it'll look in the actual movie. Because right now they're looking a little off to me. They're looking like that Lion King, lifeless, soulless animals. But I'm hopeful from when we see them in the actual motion picture, moving, talking, interacting with characters, it's going to come off a lot better. So I'm championing for this film. I'm rooting for this film. I hope it does well. And I know there's that side of it, taking out the racist side of what people are saying about, well, my mermaid isn't black. Again, we're ignoring them. But I do see the side of it from a perspective of people that did grow up with these characters, these movies, and they're just like, why does Hollywood continuously keep slapping, remakes and just put it in a live action format? Why not just leave these things untouched? I get that. But I am a believer that there is a new generation of people that, unfortunately haven't seen the original, and this is their entry point. And this doesn't mean, I'm always a believer that just because they remake something or make it a live action, this doesn't delete or erase what came before it. If anything, it might make people appreciate it more and maybe visit it for the first time. So I'm never in that camp of like things can't be remade, things can't be touched. There's always a new story to be told, and so on and so forth. And apparently they will be, this is almost an hour longer than the animated film. So there will be creative liberties they're going to be taking with this. New songs, probably new storylines, fleshing things out a lot more. Because in the animated film, if we're being honest, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the original, but there were some short ends of the stick with storylines and fleshing out stories and kind of brushing things under the rug during that time when films were being made. So I definitely think they're going to do a better job of maybe elaborating on some themes and some storylines. But, I do hope that people give this film a chance, and hopefully the film's good. That's all you can hope for with these type of movies, and I'm rooting for everyone behind it, and hopefully we have a banger on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, as we did with the Fast 10, we're gonna do some predictions here, man. So as far as my box office is concerned, take into account that as far as live action movies adaptations, we got Cruella, which was fire, but we all know that was a Disney Plus show or movie. So the last few live actions have done pretty well. I'm looking at the abomination of the Lion King that people hate, and I'm not even a big hater on that film, but it was just copy and paste and just literally just remaking it into live action. But it did really well, so much well that we're getting a sequel for that in the coming years by Barry Jenkins with the Mufasa prequel. That did well. Aladdin did well. Cinderella did well. So these movies tend to do well, regardless of how people feel about it and might not want to support it just because it, when people say, oh, this ruins my childhood, I'm like, what are you talking about? But hey, to each their own. I am going to put myself out there and say that The Little Mermaid coming out the end of May, and knowing that by that time in 3 to 4 weeks, the box office run for a family-oriented film being right now is the Super Mario movie, and there's really not a ton of competition for that family-friendly type of film in theaters. Oh man, I am gonna say that this will be the second billion-dollar film this year. I think there will be maybe one or two more, but I think this will be one of them. So I do have, and I don't know, I'm gonna put it at this right here. So my box office predictions for The Little Mermaid, when it's all said and done, and I don't know if the Bob Chapek put it on Disney Plus 45 days is still with the regime of Bob Iger coming back. So if it might be affected by if it is going to be on Disney Plus come beginning of August, but I don't think that's the case because I think Ant-Man came out in February and that's not on Disney Plus till like later this month. So that was March, April, May. So about 3 months, which is more than that 45-day window that Bob Iger or Bob Chapek did. So I think they've kind of went away with that and kind of did a case by case study as far as like if it's doing well, let's keep it in theaters. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I have The Little Mermaid doing a total box office worldwide prediction $1.2 billion. I might be stretching there, but again, I'm looking at the competition. I'm thinking it's going to be really well. I think it's going to have that word of mouth. I think the people that are kind of like, I don't want my childhood to be ruined, I'm not going to watch it. But then their husband or their wife or their friend or their sister or their brother or their mom might say, honey, this Little Mermaid is that thing. So I think word of mouth will be good for this film. That will make it have that viewing, because that's how movies make $1 billion. It doesn't, box office, the first opening weekend. That's typically when you get the bulk of your film, your money that you make for the film. But it's the legs. And speaking of legs, she's going to have her legs in this movie. Terrible pun. But I think it's going to have the legs to get it to that $1.2 billion mark. But the question is, are you excited for this film? Are you not excited for the film? Are you thinking this will be $1 billion film? Will it not make $1 billion? If it's not, what is your predictions on The Little Mermaid coming out the end of May 26th to be exact? Let me know. For those watching live, we got a couple more films and I'm going to check in with you all. As a matter of fact, no, that wraps up the May month. But for those, and let me actually get back to the video. So that wraps up the May releases as far as big blockbuster, Fast X, The Little Mermaid. So again, let me know which one you're most excited for. What are your box office predictions? Let's talk about it in the comments. But let's talk about what's coming out in June. But before we do so, again, for those that are watching live, I'm going to get into your comments here and check in with you. But first, I'm going to get a quick refill of my water here because your boy's getting a little parched here. I'm going to get some water. But in the meantime, as I mentioned on my celebration with 50,000 subscribers, the opportunities I've been given because of you all is sponsorship. So with that being said, I'm going to give a quick pass over and hand it over, a little alley-oop behind the back pass to the sponsor of today's video, and that is Movie Palette, which is, you guys can see right above me here. And what is Movie Palette? Well, check it out. Movie Palette is a distinct way to enjoy your favorite movie displayed artistically on canvas. Their palettes are carefully crafted by digital artists who choose the dominant color from each scene from your favorite movie. These vibrant colors are arranged side by side in stripes on high quality canvas. The stripes are displayed in chronological order, and the width of each one corresponds with the length of the movie scene. The result is an intriguing piece of artwork that gives you a unique view of the movies that you've seen many times before. Now, if you can't find your favorite movie listed on their website, don't worry, you can still enjoy it displayed on the canvas. Simply tell them the name of the movie along with the year it was made, and they will create a custom movie palette just for you. All right, so shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Movie Palette, which is above me here. If you guys know me, you know what palette I got behind me, one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. It's a great film. Interstellar. So Movie Palette, you can find the link to their website in the description of this video, and you can use my discount code and check them out, man. Again, they not only have movies, but they also have TV shows. And if they don't have the movie or show that you guys are interested in, they do custom ones. So you can say, hey, I'm a fan of Twin Peaks. Can you make me a Twin Peak movie palette? Well, they sure can. And again, you can use my discount and get that thing hang up on your wall. I still haven't found a special spot that I want to put this in my house. Right now, it's just above me when I do these live streams, but I love it, man. I love Movie Palette. And again, you guys can check them out. And it's a way to support not only your art or your artistic side in your home, but it's also a way to support the channel because it is a sponsorship of this channel. So shout out to Movie Palette. So let me get to the live chat, see what you guys have been talking about before we get into what's going on with the movies coming out in June. All right, let me catch up to the chat here. Where do we leave off at? The Geek Ledger has a quick question, a random question. I know some outlets are saying that the Super Mario movie and the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 are summer blockbusters when summer doesn't start. And I mentioned it earlier. So summer, technically doesn't start till June. But as far as the film industry goes, or at least in my opinion, that the summer blockbuster season has definitely moved up to that April to May season. So yes, you're totally right. The official summer season is in June, but I still consider Super Mario Brother and the most recent Guardians film that came out on Friday to be summer movies, blockbuster films, in my opinion. So I agree with those outlets that call it that. But again, to your point, summer doesn't start till next month, technically. But I consider it to start, a couple weeks ago. Is it normal to include? Yeah, I do. Like I said, I personally do, in my opinion. That is what it is. Let's see. The Geek Ledger says, I love the Guardians 3. It was great. Definitely the best Guardians film. My personal favorite. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. It was definitely a really good, emotional, entertaining, funny film. So, I got almost 3 hours worth of content of that movie on the channel you guys can check out. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And it's definitely a film that I had a good time with. What's going on, Joshua? How we doing today, man? Spider-Verse is my most anticipated film this summer. Not looking forward to Mission Impossible 7. That's my least excited for the summer. Congrats on 50K as well. Well, thank you, Josh. And we will get to both of those films here in a second, man. But not a Mission Impossible fan, Josh. What's going on, bro? You're not into the amazing choreographed stunts that Mr. Tom Cruise puts together? No, I'm joking, man. We'll get to it a little bit later, but shout out to Josh, man, coming through, showing some love. Man, Tyrion saying he's over the fast films. Well, they're not over quite yet, man, but definitely intrigued to see what's coming to Fast 10. Very long time. I remember seeing the first one in high school. Yeah, I didn't see my first Fast and Furious film in theaters to Fast and Furious 9. I don't think I saw 8 in theaters. No, 9 was I got a during the pandemic they sent me a screener to see it in theaters, and that was the first time I saw a Fast and Furious movie in theaters. Was Fast 9, and it was not the best experience because that movie wasn't that good. But yeah, that's crazy. Point Blank. Thank you, Sam. I don't know. Sometimes when you're live, Sam, I can look. I'm that friend that I can rattle off films, directors, actors, boom, 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 boom. But sometimes when the camera's on you, you're hosting live, you're trying to get things on the screen, you forget movies, man. And thank you, Sam, for Point Break. I don't know, it was just like on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't think of it. But thank you for the correction there. Yeah, the first Fast and Furious to me is like a Point Break ripoff. As much as I want to watch every blockbuster coming this summer, my disability benefits will probably be paused sometime in June. This is summer movies. Well, yeah, man, I know. Yeah, and again, financially, it's a lot of people that unfortunately won't be able to see all the movies in the theater, and that's kind of that benefit of that window. Even though I prefer movies to be in theaters a little bit longer, like it was back in the day, that 60, 90-day window. But the benefit of your Disney Plus, HBO Max, Peacock, so on and so forth, is that the films are able to be seen at home sooner than later. So hopefully, man, you'll be able to, might be able to see all these movies, but hopefully you'll be able to see them by the end of the summer once they're available on the, streaming. But in shout out to you. I know you let me know on the last stream that you were unfortunately let go with some of your outlets that you wrote for. So, but like I said in that video, and I'll say it again, you seem to be really talented and know what you're talking about. So I'm sure you'll be bouncing back on your feet in no time, my friend. So shout out to you, Geek Ledger, and keep your head up, my friend. I'm always early tickets for So Proud. Yeah, The Little Mermaid. I'm so proud of. Yeah, I haven't. So like my entry point to the Bailey sisters was like about 2.5 years ago when I was seeing them in their music videos. So I'm like, oh, these are really talented individuals. And I've come in the last year. I've seen them on like different interviews and just them doing things behind the scenes. They seem to be really good, people. They got good heads on their shoulders. They seem to be raised in a good household. And I'm a big fan of them, and I'm champion for them. So yeah, I'm so proud of both of them. and I hope they do. Hope they do their thing and they continue to do their thing. Let's see here. All right. So with that being said, okay, we got some predictions. My girl Zia saying The Little Mermaid at 1.5 at minimum. I had it at 1.2. She got it at 1.5. I love it. I would love it. I would love it if it gets to those numbers. What's going on, G? What is going on, my man? Hope you're doing well, doing your thing. I see your shorts you've been making and your reviews that you continue to do. So shout out to you, my friend. Hope you're doing well, man. We got to link up again soon, man. Also, Little Mermaid has Memorial Day weekend working for it, 4-day weekend. Great point, Tyrion. Great point. Yep. Bob Chapek, number one fan is Brandon. Man. Please no more. Hey, Kevin. I think that franchise has accumulated well over like $4 billion. When you are making that type of money hand over fist, it's hard to stop it. It's hard to stop the train. And apparently 11's going to be the last one. I doubt that, but we'll see. We'll see, man. But getting back into it. So we covered all the big releases coming out in May. Now it's time to talk about June, which is technically the start of the summer season. But as far as the movies go, we got some big movies to look forward to. So I want to start off with a smaller film because, listen, I love action. I love horror. I love sci-fi. But I also like to laugh, man. You know, we don't really get comedies that often. So I'm going to talk about two films coming out June 9th, and that is on a Friday. And starting off with a smaller film, Strays. Now, if you guys don't know what Strays is, it is a new rated R comedy about dogs saying some really raunchy stuff. Now, I have only seen one trailer when I went to go see The Evil Dead Rise. They showed this trailer from the audience, and it was my first time seeing the trailer. And it has the likes, I believe, is starring Will Ferrell as well as Jamie Foxx, which, by the way, shout out to Jamie Foxx. I hope he is doing okay. I'm not entirely sure on what exactly happened. If you guys don't know, he was recently, or about a month ago, he was put into the hospital for medical complications. And I don't want to speculate on some things, but some things have been said about what those complications could have potentially been. But I saw on recently, I think Brandon talked about on his roundup. Brandon from Just My Opinion Reviews talked about how he posted on his Instagram that he's doing okay, which is good to hear because, man, you talk about legends and just talented individuals. The man is a triple threat. He acts, he sings, he performs, he does it all. So shout out to Jamie Foxx and the Fox family. Thoughts and prayers go out to him. I hope he's doing well. But he does have a film coming out this summer that he's voicing a dog. Again, this film does star Will Ferrell. We have Randall Park. We have Josh Gad and a lot of talented people that put a smile on my face. And like I said, Jamie Foxx being one of them. And again, y'all, this is a straight up raunchy comedy of these stray dogs that are just kind of going around town, getting into some trouble. And I think they're trying to find a home. I think one of the dogs got lost and they're trying to find their homes, but they're hanging out with these strays and they might want to live this stray life now. I believe the owner of one of the dogs is played by Will Forte, and I think he threw the dog out. So we're going to get probably a sentimental movie because, look, I'm a dog owner. I love my dog, Thor. So it's going to probably hit those notes, but at the same time, it's going to be a lot of F-bombs, a lot of, what bombs and so on and so forth. So we'll see what comes of that. I'm not necessarily running to the theaters to see this, but again, we don't get many comedies as it is in general. We also don't get a lot of rated R comedies. So for that fact, I'll probably go check this out if I am given an opportunity to see it, whether it's like a screener invite or whatnot. So let me know, what do you all are thinking about this movie Strays, and will you be seeing it come June 9th? But a film that I think we're all a little on the fence about, potentially, I could be speaking for myself, but I'm talking about Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Transformers Mobilize. I grew up with these characters, man. I grew up with Optimus Prime, Megatron, and all those characters. And this franchise in particular, the Beast Wars, was a show that I watched before I went to school every day and watched, after school. It was something I was a big fan of, seeing Cheetah and all those different characters. So I'll be honest with you all, when it comes to this franchise, I've been kind of worn down with the Michael Bay of it all. The first Transformer was fine. The second one was not that great. I have a soft spot for Dark Side of the Moon because it was the last hour and a half was all in Chicago, and I'm from Chicago, so it was cool to kind of see those landmarks. And it's also it was entertaining. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna say it's stunt. I have fun with the Dark Side of the Moon. Then we got out of the Shia LaBeouf era and went into the Mark Wahlberg era with the 4, 5, and 6, and I can't even tell you the names of those. Age of Extinction, Last Night. I don't even know. At that point, I checked out of the franchise. I've seen them all, but I haven't enjoyed them all. Then we came with the Travis Knight Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld. It was in the 80s, and it was a throwback to just kind of those films of just enjoying it, and it brought back the heart and the soul of the franchise, but it didn't do that well financially. Fast forward to 2023, June 9th, we got Transformers Rise of the Beast. Now, to my knowledge, this has nothing to do with the Michael Bay franchise. This is kind of a straying away from what he brought in that world and those lores and those mythologies and those characters. But I think this is in the same world as the Travis Knight 2018 Bumblebee film, which I know that is going to be taking place in the 90s, 94, if I'm not mistaken. And then his film came out in the 80s. So I'm thinking there's some crossover. So they haven't been promoting Haley Steinfeld, but I wouldn't be surprised if she pops up in this film. But even if she doesn't, this is a cast I'm excited for. Anthony Ramos, I'm a big fan of his. Dominique Fishback, shout out to her. She just came out with a show last month by the name of Swarm, which I highly recommend you all check out. And that is a film that I am excited is not the word, but curious about. Because again, if it's in the vein of the Bumblebee movies, then I can see it being something good. But based on that last trailer we got, it looked like more of the same. Michael Bay, robots clashing, metal clashing, and just kind of being bored and being tired by all this to action and really no story. And we'll see. We'll see, man. Again, Dominic Fishback, Anthony Ramos, the director who did Creed 2, I'm a fan of. I root for him, and I hope he does good. Stephen Cable Jr., he has experience with doing franchise movies, him coming into Creed 2 and doing that film. It wasn't as good as Creed 1 for me, but it was still a really good film. So I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for this film, man. And also just the voice casting is phenomenal. Ron Perlman, Peter Dinklage. Of course, you have Peter, the voice who did Optimus Prime before, Michelle Yeoh. It's a great cast, man. So we'll see, man. I just been burnt out with the franchise, and I'm hoping that this one is kind of return to form, and hope it's in the vein of what we got with Bumblebee. But that's coming out March, or I should say June 9th. And as far as, I didn't do a prediction for Strays because I don't really have that much of a deep analysis of what that film can make. But as far as the Transformers go, again, traditionally speaking, these films have made more within the first three. The second one made more than the first one. The third one made more than the second one and the first one. But then it had a really steep decline from 4, 5, and 6. And then Bumblebee really didn't make nearly as much as the other films. And I think that had to do with some marketing. Like, I don't know why they didn't put Transformers Presents Bumblebee versus like just putting Bumblebee on the title card. But I don't know if this is cracking $1 billion like the other ones, but I can see it doing something around this range. My prediction for Transformers Rise of the Beast coming out June 9th. This is where I'm at with this film, as you all can see on the screen now. 700. I got 700 million. I think, again, as we'll talk about, the competition will be stiff for June, but I also think that people kind of maybe burnt out about the Michael Bay of it all, and there's might be some brand confusion. Like, is this Michael Bay? Is this Bumblebee? Is it two of the same? So I think there's some confusion there. So we'll see, man. Again, I'm rooting for it. And listen, 700 million is nothing to blink an eye at. I think we've gotten to this mindset of like, if it doesn't make $1 billion, it's not successful. That's not the case. Of course, you got the budget, you got the advertising and all. So I think just based on what I know from the film, and I don't think it got anywhere close to like the Michael Bay 200 plus 250 million. I think it was like under 150 million, if I'm not mistaken, on the production side of it. So plus you add in production as far as advertisement. So I think 700 million is definitely an attainable goal. It might do more, and I wouldn't be surprised by no means. But I think 700 million is kind of a nice sweet spot for this film to come and land for theaters come June 9th. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments what you all are thinking about Strays, thinking about Transformers Rise of the Beast in the comments below. So before we move on to the next one, I realized that for some reason, movie that's coming out June 2nd, one of my most anticipated films, was not on my list here. I actually missed it here. So let me rewind, and I'll edit this in the breakdown a little bit later. But June 2nd, is where the month begins. And we got a horror film coming out and a action movie spectacle animated sequel coming out. And that is The Boogeyman and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So this is a perfect example of what we like to call counter programming, where you have a horror film. Now, I'm not saying there's no crossover, but you have a horror movie and then you have an action movie. So I think this is a great opportunity for The Boogeyman to get some of that rollover for the next big film that we'll talk about, with Spider-Man. But putting a light on the Boogeyman film, this is based on a Stephen King IP, and Stephen King IPs are hit or miss for me. Like, he's a genius with the writing, but sometimes it doesn't always translate well to the big screen. But from what I'm hearing about the Boogeyman, this was a film that was initially slated to come out on a streaming service, but based on test screenings and the feedback they got from that, this was a film that people said, no, this needs to be in theaters for people to be scared and to enjoy. And when you think about it, this goes back to the James Wan effect back in 2012, 2013 with this Conjuring and Insidious. Horror movies in the summer weren't a big thing, right? Horror movies were just kind of segregated to beginning of the year, like kind of throwaway horror films in the beginning of January, February, the dumping season, or it came out in October or in the fall to kind of get in the mood. And not saying James Gunn invented this, but James Gunn kind of perfected this model of like, no, let's put out the summer horror films to get people to counter program against the big blockbuster films that people, they might get a little overstuffed with action movies and they want to get scared. They want to be on the edge of their seat, right? So James Gunn, to me, like I said, or James Wan, like I said, did The Conjuring, did the Insidious films, and they came out for the summer and created a lot of buzz. And you saw a lot of other studios do that as well. And we see that here with this June 2nd release. So I have enjoyed the trailers. It definitely comes off to me to be this year's version of Smile, which I enjoyed, and it did really well financially. They got a sequel in the works for Smile. So I am thinking that The Boogeyman will be this year's version of Smile, which is a modest, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a less than $25-30 million movie to make, another 30-40 in advertisement. And I think this is easily 35 million opening weekend, even against this big behemoth that we'll talk about here in a second with Spider-Man. I think 30-35 million is a reasonable thing to project, maybe 20-25 maybe, but wouldn't be surprised if it got that 35 benchmark, especially with potentially good word of mouth. But the trailers have looked good. People love to get scared. Horror is in the uppity up. Like, we are in a good horror season in the last few years. So I think it has that to its advantage. So don't sleep on the Boogeyman, or else he might get you in your sleeping hours. But I'm looking forward to it, y'all, and I'm excited to see what it has up his sleeve. And like I said, I think it's going to be this year's version of Smile, which was a surprise hit. So let me know in the comments if you guys are excited for the Boogeyman. But we got to talk about the big one. And this was one of my most anticipated films when I made that video last year. And that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That's right. Miles Morales is back, and he's not alone. He's got a whole group of other Spider-Men and Spider-Women joining along with him this time around. And look, man, I am beyond excited for this film, because I'm telling y'all right now, back in 2018, this film was not supposed to do what it did, because it was Aquaman was out. It was Mary Poppins. It was, I think, was Bumblebee out during that time? It was a bunch of movies coming out when this film came out in 2018. And it made its way through because it was a great movie, number one. It is one of the best animated films I've ever seen. But the thing that I was just more than impressed with was the story. This movie has so much heart, has so much soul. The soundtrack, the authenticity of, like, I've never been to New York, but it seemed just so authentic of just embracing the New York side of it. The, showing Miles's family and just the family dynamic of him and his mom and his dad and his uncle, and just that whole storyline. And then the Spider-Man of it all, as far as like being Spider-Man and fighting for the little person and standing up for the little person, and Miles' story tying into all that, man. I love the first Spider-Man. This second one has a huge heel decline, because that first one is just perfect. It's my favorite Spider-Man story, live action, animated, you name it. It's my favorite Spider-Man story today. Yes, that's over Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire, the GOAT. Yes, that is over Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man, the first one, is just excellent. Excellent. Come the second one, man, we got some new directors, which I'm a fan of, and I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. We, of course, are bringing back Miles and the family and Gwen and all the different Spider-Man that we got in the first one, but we also have a lot of other Spider-Man that we have grown up with, whether it's the video games, comics, animated series. There's a lot of Spider-Man in this. So at first, when I heard about the Spider-Men's of it all and Spider-Women's of it all, I'm like, man, are they going to forget about my boy Miles? These last few trailers, man, have shown that no, they have not forgot about Miles. More so, this will probably give us more about Miles. I believe this is a year, maybe less than a year from the original one. So we're still in that frame mind of him being a teen, him growing up and dealing with being a teenager, but also being a superhero. So we're still going to get that story. But it seems like based on the trailer, he has to make a decision. He already lost his uncle. But based on the trailer, man, it looks like his dad might be in the crossfires, man. And it seems like what we got with Oscar Isaac's character with Spider-Man 2099 is like, listen, this is part of our journey. This is part of our destiny. Loss is part of the journey. And it looks like if he wants to continue the multiversal things being in line, he can't interfere with potentially losing his dad. But it seems like on the trailer, he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want to face the fact that he might have to lose his dad, and that might muck up some things and mess up the multiverse. And that, ladies and gentlemen, may be that window of opportunity to bring in, obviously, no, we're going to get a bunch of Spider-Man in an animated form. But I would not be surprised if we see a live action or maybe an animated version of a Tom Holland, of a Tobey Maguire, and potentially an Andrew Garfield. I wouldn't be surprised, man. I would not be surprised. I mean, if you saw the trailer, they did allude to Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So we'll see. And if that doesn't happen, I'm not saying I need that to happen for me to enjoy the film, but I'm just saying that's on the table. But I am very excited for this. Super big fan of this franchise. I'm kind of torn about the fact that they announced it as a part one of a part two. Like, I know for the investors and the excitement and the buzz, you want to get that out there. But at the same time, I just wish that they wouldn't give us that, because obviously, it's going to probably end on the cliffhanger. And, luckily it's only going to be a year later, but I do wish they would have kept that close to the vest. But I'm excited for this, man. And as far as predictions go, in box office, I don't know if a lot of people know that this film was very successful, but I think some people think that it made like close to $1 billion. Like, no, the first one did really well. It made I believe 300 and something million, which is really good for, an animated Spider-Man film that no one was really checking out for. So it did well, and comparably so to its budget. So I see this one doing, again, knowing that it was an Oscar-winning movie, knowing that there's a huge fan base behind it, knowing that just Spider-Man in general is Spider-Man's in a good place right now as far as fandom, video games, obviously the live-action movies, so on and so forth. That's going to help this movie. And plus, I do think, just from a movie perspective, this will be an excellent film. I'm going to go ahead and double that thing up, man. I got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse doing a very strong 600 million at the box office once it's said and done, which, again, just knowing that with the previous May, just taking to that account, as far as the first one doing really well from the box office perspective. But, doubling it up this time around, to me, it's a good thing. You always want to see your movies making more than the previous one, right? Which I do think this one will do. So again, I'm just looking up here quickly. The first one did, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, 384 million on its first run, man, which is not too shabby for, again, new for, a lot of us new, for those that grew up with Spider-Man, was familiar with Miles, and those that read the comics are familiar with Miles. But for a lot of the general audience, they were first introduced to Miles back in 2018. So on a $90 million budget, it made 384 million. So yeah, it made a profit, and I think it's going to end up getting, close to doubling that with 600 million. So that's my predictions, but let me know what you all think in the comments about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, coming out June 2nd. So moving on to the next week, and again, you guys know I kind of messed up the order there. So we're going to move on to June 16th, and this is a big, big day for movies. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to get the time and to see these movies, but hopefully we can work it out. June 16th, ladies and gentlemen, we got a variety of films, and I always love variety. As you all can see, we have a comedy, a horror comedy in The Blackening. Again, I just talked about it with the Boogeyman. You know, these horror movies make their way into the summer, man. I love it. We got The Blackening. We have a Pixar film, and we haven't gotten a Pixar movie in a while in the theaters, right? We got a couple Disney's movies, The Strange World, and a couple other ones in the last few years. But a lot of the unfortunately Pixar movies have been relegated to Disney Plus. But this is the first big one that's going to be in theaters, which we'll talk about here in a second. We got a big one coming out. The Flash. We'll talk about that here in a second. And then, Asteroid City for any Wes Anderson films. We'll talk about that. So actually, let's start off with that one because that's probably out of the slate here. It's probably the more niche type of film. And that is, Wes Anderson, who I am a fan of, right? I know his sensibilities aren't for everyone, but he's my cup of tea. I like his sense of comedy. I like his sense of screenwriting. And I love the cast that he puts together. This cast is just phenomenal. So that one's coming out again. I don't expect that to be, crazy at the box office, but it will be a film I will be watching. I am a Wes Anderson fan, but that comes out that day. Let me know if there's any Wes Anderson fans excited about Asteroid City in the comments. Then I'm going to go to the next one that I think will be, as far as like not as big as the next two, but The Blackening. I know some people have seen it, said some things about it. It didn't necessarily work for them, but I'm still looking forward to it, man. I'm a fan of comedies, number one. I'm a fan of horror, so mix the two together. It doesn't always work well, horror comedies, but every time I've seen a trailer for this, especially before seeing most recently Evil Dead Rise, the audience, you could tell that was their first time seeing a trailer, and they really ate it up. They were laughing at the jokes, and again, the idea of the film in general is just funny because being Black, growing up watching horror films, you grew up knowing that the Black, like, oh, that's cool. We got a Black guy, Black woman in here, but they're going to probably die within the first 10 minutes in the film. And normally that was the case. So the fact that they're playing on that trope that Black people die first and that these Black people have to stay together and work together until they don't die is a very funny thing. And it kind of has like a Saw approach to it. Like, do you want to play a game type of approach? So I'm hoping that The Blackening does pretty well. And again, I didn't hear the best of things about it for someone that I know that saw, but again, to each his own with horror, number one, but also comedy. Those are like, subjectively speaking, those are two genres that are very hard to generally like from an audience because everyone has different tastes in comedy. Everyone has different tastes in scare factors and horror. So we'll see. I think it's definitely more of a comedy than it is a horror, but we won't be surprised. It might get bloody, it might get gory in that thing, but I'm excited for The Blackening, and then I'm excited to check it out and see what it does this summer. But the two big ones, let's go ahead and talk about the Pixar film first, because like I had mentioned, this is the first Pixar film in theaters in a very long time, because like I had mentioned, Bob Chapek, he was the guy that decided to, and again, not putting all the blame, it made sense, right? We were all at home, Soul, Encanto, all those great movies. It was good for people to see him at home, right? But unfortunately, I think it created this type of mindset that the families were like, hey, little Bobby, little Timmy, little Cynthia, I don't got to take them to the theaters if it's already at home. So it kind of created this idea that people didn't have to go see the Pixar movies in theaters because they were at home. So it will be interesting to see how it will affect Elementals, because it definitely affected the most recent, at least this isn't Pixar, but it definitely affected Strange World last year. And if you all have seen the list of like the most, the less profitable films of last year, number one was Strange World. It lost, I think, 200 million, 250 million for Disney. So that is nothing to blink at, but we'll see if it would affect Elementals. And if I'm being honest with you all, I much more like, I know people love their Disney films, the classic. We talked about the Little Mermaid earlier, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. I mean, you name it. Great classics. I grew up in the 90s, and for me, my growing up in animation is all Pixar, man. Toy Stories of the world, all that stuff, Bugs Life, and those are, Incredibles is one of my favorite animated films of all time. Monsters Inc. is one of my favorite animated films of all time. Like, I love Pixar, man. But they've been on a decline in the last few years, especially with the reboots and the remake, well, not reboots, but the remakes and Toy Story 5 and all that stuff coming out in the coming years. And, they've been kind of lacking, but I love an original Pixar film. This film hasn't moved the needle for me. The trailers really haven't. It's an interesting premise, right? It's this fire and ice or fire and water, opposites attract. It seems to be kind of a rom-com, which is the first in the Pixar animated, genre. But it hasn't really moved the needle to me. Again, the animation is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just like, we'll see. I'm not super excited for this film. I'll be honest with you all, but kid-friendly, Pixar, really the first big film to come out in theaters for them. I see this doing a good solid 400 million by the time it's done its run. Wouldn't be surprised if it's less. Wouldn't be surprised if it's more. But for me, I'm thinking about 400 million for Elementals. But now it's time for the main event. Flash. The Flash, ladies and gentlemen, this film has seen its dog days. I mean, from all the way to 20. They announced The Flash in like 2014, 2015. Because as they were prepping up for, during that time, Zack Snyder and the Snyderverse and BVS was getting geared up and the Dawn of Justice. And they were saying, hey, we're going to give you not only a Justice League film, but Cyborg, Aquaman, which came to fruition, Green Lantern, Flash. That was almost a decade ago. This film has been in production for so long that the TV show Flash has ended its run. And we have yet to see. I mean, some people, as we'll talk about here, some people have seen it, and it does exist. It will be coming. But it's been that long in the works, and it's been so many directors attached and writers attached and this, that, and the third. And look, I don't want to get into the whole Ezra Miller of it all and not brushing it on the rug and not ignoring that by any means, because it does need to be said. And what they did was terrible stuff. They were found guilty of, stuff they were associated with and accused of. Is nothing to just brush under the rug. I don't want to ignore that. But just from my perspective, Ezra Miller wasn't the reason I was going to see The Flash. Ezra Miller wasn't the reason I was excited for The Flash. I'm a Flash fan, and I've been waiting to see The Flash for a very long time. And for me personally, and not saying that you're right or wrong, if you feel like, hey, I don't want to see this because of what Ezra Miller did, I completely respect that and understand that. But just from my perspective, and I'm not saying one is better than the other or that I'm better than you in doing this, but I have managed throughout my entire life to be able to separate the art from the artist type of conversation. And there's exceptions to the rule, no doubt about that. But that's another conversation for another day. So again, I don't want to talk about the Ezra Miller of it all, but doesn't mean I'm ignoring the Ezra Miller of it all. But with that being said, I am a Flash fan. Batman is my favorite superhero of all time. And the fact that we're not getting just one Batman, but the fact that we're getting two Batman, and the fact that we're getting, for some people, not my personal favorite, but he's a GOAT, he's a legend. I gotta respect what Michael Keaton brought to 89 Batman and 1991 Batman Returns. He's back. That trailer that came out during a Super Bowl, I don't want to say, that trailer was fire. That trailer was fire. And then the most recent one that came out a couple weeks ago, listen, man, I'm excited for it. And then not even to forget about the CinemaCon of it all. People were fortunate enough that attended CinemaCon to see a screening. And, even prior to that, James Gunn saying it's one of the best superhero movies he's seen. David Zaslav saying the same thing. Tom Cruise coming out saying, this is it. This is the one. There's all that hype about it. But I'm not one to bleed into the hype and let the hype set up my expectations. I have my personal expectations for the film just due to who's behind the camera. Again, I mentioned how horror and sci-fi are my two favorite genres, and Andy Muschietti is definitely someone that I always get excited for when he's attached to, horror projects, but just in general, Mama, the It franchise, and he just is a passionate filmmaker. And from what I gathered from, again, putting the hype aside, but just from what I've seen from a trailer perspective, clips I've seen, they let that boy cook. So I'm a big fan of what Andy's potentially going to bring us to the big screen. I'm really excited to see the Batman, Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, and of course Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, Sasha Calle as Supergirl. Really excited to see what they bring with that character, and the fact that this is stemming and playing in the world of my personal, thus far up to this date, my favorite DCEU project to date is 2013 Zack Snyder Man of Steel. So the fact that we're revisiting one of the best in the DCEU is a plus for me. Zod and, all the stuff that we got with that. I'm looking forward to The Flash. And the big question at hand, again, not ignoring what they did as far as Ezra Miller, and I'm not putting this on the rug, but I think we live in a sphere in the film Twitter. We live in a bubble, and we know what he did. What they did. But I don't think the general audience is very familiar with what they did. I don't think the general audience is really familiar with Ezra Miller has been doing for the last few years. So with that being said, hype, fire trailer, great marketing so far, word of mouth. And the word of mouth started over a year ago. I think The Flash will have very good rewatchability. With that being said, I think The Flash will do, as far as my box office prediction, could do more, could do less. This is where I'm at with The Flash coming out June 16th. $890 million. Again, I'm taking into account competition. Transformers will be in theaters. Fast X will still be in theaters. We talked about, the blackening comedy. You got Wes Anderson niche audience. You got families going out to go see the Elementals. So it will have competition around it, obviously, but not to this, no superhero competition in the summer. This is the only big superhero movie coming out this summer, besides obviously Guardian being out right now. But by the time June 16th comes around, Guardian's box office will probably dwindle down. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if it does not significantly less, but I can see it doing at minimum 700 million. Maximum, this is my sweet spot, is 890. It could do that billion. It potentially could do that billion because I think word of mouth will be very high. And I do think this will have a great rewatchability. I think, of course, there's the Snyder fans that will probably not support this because allegedly this is the end of the Snyderverse. I know there's a lot of people out there that want that to continue and, all that stuff. And, that's their prerogative to think that that's going to still happen. And who knows? Never knew that the Justice League would see the light of day. But, here we are. I just think this film's going to be fire, man. Again, I know that we know what they did, but I don't think the general audience knows. And they're going to come in droves when they hear about The Flash being, from what it's been said, one of the best superhero movies. I don't think it's going to be the best superhero of all time. I think people are definitely sipping on that hyperbole juice. But I think it's going to be one of the best DCEU films. And I definitely think it's going to be one of the best comic book movies we've seen this year. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see. Again, that's my number, 890. I think it's going to be very successful. Wrapping up June, we still got some bangers to talk about. Just quickly here, I mentioned comedies and raunchy comedies not being as frequently seen in theaters, but we have No Hard Feelings starring Jennifer Aniston. It's I haven't seen the trailer yet, so I really can't speak to the film, but I can gather from what I've heard from what people talked about. It's her. She's going through like some type of midlife crisis. Jennifer Lawrence's character. She gets this opportunity to take this boy out on a date because the boy's parents is like, hey, he's awkward. He doesn't really, talk to girls often. Can you take our son on a date? And as you all can see from the trailer, pretty awkward. I think she's in her mid 30s, early 30s. He's obviously, I think he's 18, 19. So it's an awkward age difference there. But again, I know we live in a time now where people, and rightfully so, there's definitely things in movies that don't get a pass like it used to get back in the day. But I'm not going to lie, man. I think we're a little bit too sensitive when it comes to comedies in general and raunchy comedies. We don't really get them at all, especially in the theaters. So I haven't seen a trailer, but I champion for good comedies. And I hope this is a string of good comedies. We talked about it earlier with The Strays. We got No Hard Feelings. There's the Glenn Powell and the Sydney Sweeney comedy, raunchy rom-com coming out in theaters later this December. So I love a good laugh. I love a good comedy, and hopefully we got a good one on our hands with No Hard Feelings starring the great Jennifer Lawrence. And I'm a fan of hers. I think she's an incredible actress. And every time I see her off camera, she seems to be so funny. But every time I see her on camera, and she's a great actress, she does a lot of dramas, and you see a little bit of like some jokes now and then in some of her films, but you never really see her be as goofy as she really seems to be in real life. So I think we're gonna get to see that side of her finally on the big screen. So we'll see what comes on June 23rd for that film, which goes by the name of No Hard Feelings. But y'all smell that? Y'all smell that nostalgia? That nostalgia in the air? June 30th, ladies and gentlemen. Indiana Jones. That's right. Indy is back in theaters, and he is back with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to be honest with you all. Indiana Jones is a franchise that I admire, I appreciate. I have fun with those films, but I'm not like a diehard Indiana Jones fan. Like I know a lot of people, like a lot of you all that are probably watching are, but I respect them. I have fun with them. So with that being said, I'm not over the moon to see this film. And it's not even about the fact that, yes, Harrison Ford is, no ageism here, but he's up there in age. So it's suspension of disbelief of a 70, 80-year-old man riding a horse and doing all this action. I just talked about the Flash. There's no Flash in the world. You got to suspend your disbelief. But putting that aside, the thing that I am very intrigued by is James Mangold. This man has directed some amazing films in his career. Most recently, Ford v. Ferrari came out in 2019. And I tell y'all, I slept on that film. I didn't see it when it was in theaters. I saw it much later when it came out on home video. And that if I would have saw it in theaters, that would have easily been one of my favorite films of that year. But this man has been doing great movies since I was 7, 8 years old, and I didn't see this movie so much later. But Copland's one that comes to mind. I thought he did a great job at. Walk the Line. I'm not a big biopic guy, but I love Walk the Line. 3:10 to Yuma with Christian Bale was a really good movie. Night and Day was okay. The Cameron Diaz and Tom Cruise film wasn't the best, but it's a fun little film, a little action comedy. The Wolverine was a miss for me. The Wolverine director's cut was a hit for me. And speaking of Wolverine, Logan 2017 is arguably one of the greatest superhero comic book movies of all time. So James Mangold is a dude that I look forward to seeing his movies, not getting off track, but kind of staying within the realms of Lucas features or Lucas films. I'm very intrigued by his Star Wars film about the Jedi, the first Jedi. Very excited to see what he brings there. But speaking to the Indiana Jones of it all, he is someone, and of course, I love Harrison Ford. I'm looking forward to seeing his last chapter in the role, but I'm really, really, really locked in on what James Mangold can bring to this franchise that has lost a little bit of his flair, especially with the last one, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull with Shia LaBeouf, and some it's not as bad. Everyone tries to poo-poo on that film, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not the best, don't get me wrong, but it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. But I'm liking this new cast, man. You got Antonio Banderas, you have Toby Jones, you have Boyd Holbrook, which again, shout out to Logan. He plays a good villain. If you guys haven't seen Sandman, he was great as Corinthian in that show. He's a great villain. Matt Mickelson, fantastic actor. He's playing the villain in this film. And then Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I am such a fan of her. She is a generational talent. If you guys have never seen Killing Eve, you're missing out. If you've never seen Fleabag, you're missing out. She is a great writer, great actress. She has done some great shows that you guys, like I just mentioned, those shows that said there. She's written some really great movies too. She had her hands in the most recent James Bond film, and she has her hands in some other projects coming to be. But like I mentioned, she's a great actress too, and she will be in this film. So again, not the biggest indie fan, but I'm here for it, man. I will be seeing this in theaters when it comes out. And if I'm being frank, it'll be the first Indiana Jones film I've ever seen in theaters. So that's a pretty exciting thing as a moviegoer. So Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Box office predictions for this one, man. Again, I'm kind of like, I can see people coming out to support Indy, and I can see people coming out and watching him for the very last time. And Mr. Harrison Ford has made it known that this will be the last time we will be seeing him in the role. And I think Disney and Lucasfilm has said that there was talks about a TV show, talks about bringing someone else in the role, but I think they've said right now that this is probably the last time that we'll probably see the character, at least in the next 10 to 15 years. Again, money talks, IP talks. We'll probably get a reboot and something later down the line, but it'll be a while before we see him again on screen. But looking at the box office receipts from the previous Indiana Jones films, and of course, inflation and stuff is different from when the original ones came out, but I'm trying to see what the last one did here, which was the Crystal Skull. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere in the $800 million range. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been a little bit less. Let me see here. Let me look up Indiana Jones box office receipts. And you got to remember, too, that last Indiana Jones came out like in 2008 or so, wasn't it? Let's see here. Indiana Jones in 2008. Yeah, it came out 2008, and it was $790 million. That's not bad, y'all, on a $185 million budget. That's a pretty big budget. I don't know if the budget's been out there for the Dial of Destiny. Yeah, it's not out there, at least I can see. I would imagine it's probably around at $200 million, if I'm being honest. $790 was the last one. I think that was the most highest grossing that the Indiana Jones films have made. $790 in 2008. And we're talking about, damn, 15 something years later. Ooh, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones. What are you feeling? What is your gut telling you? This is what my gut's telling me, y'all. This is what my gut's telling me. Might be blasphemous, but this is where I'm at with Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny. I know that might be low for some people. I know some people have $1 billion for this one. I don't see it hitting those notes, man. I really don't. I just think it's there's people that's going to come out in droves to see this that love Indy, that grew up with Indy. There's a lot of nostalgia behind it. A lot of people grew up with this character. But I don't know, man. I don't think it's gonna hit the needle as high as people think. So look. We're gonna revisit this stream in a couple months at the end of August. But this is where I'm at with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is 680. I will definitely take it up if I'm like way off on that. But that's where I'm at with it. 680 with Indiana Jones 5 coming out to theaters in the end of June. So before we move on to the next month, again, like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're having a good time, definitely do so. But let's pivot over to what the comment section has been saying. June is big, man. That is a big, big month, man. Again, looking at the slate, June 16th is a crazy date. What is that? 4 movies coming out that day? That is insane. And then earlier in that month, we got the Spider-Man, and you got the Boogeyman, Strays, Transformers. I mean, June is stacked, y'all. Oh my goodness, that is a packed month, man. Packed month. But I think The Flash is going to come out on top. That's the highest grossing film for June. But let me see what you guys are talking about. Let me enough of me and check in with you guys and see. Let's see here. I think 7. And if you guys are still here, let me know where you guys were at with some of these box office predictions. If you could put the name in there, because I'm a little bit behind on some of these comments. So 700. That was at 345, Zia. So what was that? Probably Transformers is probably your 700. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zia, if you're still here. And we got Justin in the building. Blackening. I'll watch the Blackening and wait to watch streaming. Okay, gotcha. I understand, man. I understand. Zia says, I call it the new... I mean, it is a Batman movie featuring the Flash based on the trailer so far. I don't know. I think it could have a bigger Kiki Kwan. Indy would be $1 billion film now. Is Kiki Kwan, is he in it? Oh, you're saying it would have been bigger if he was in it. Yeah. Decent. Yeah. Like I said, look, 7. What was mine? 680 to 700. Yeah. Okay. So Zia, your 800 to Indiana Jones. Oh, that was Transformers. Okay, that's what I thought. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha, guys. So yeah, man, a lot of stuff to look forward to in June. But let's move on to our next month, which is July, man. This is the middle of the summer, man, and we got some stuff to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. And coming out the beginning of the month of July, we got, again, man, I love the horror. I love horror, and I also love comedy. And we got 2 to look forward to come July 7th. We got the Insidious franchise. I believe this is the 5th one, the Red Door. And we have a new comedy by the name of Joyride. Now, I saw the trailer of Joyride most recently. Again, I saw a bunch of trailers when I saw Evil Dead Rise. This looks funny, man. Great cast. Stephanie Shu, who we know was fantastic in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And, just seeing the chemistry from the cast. I believe Seth Rogen's producing this. I love the energy. I love the comedy beats that kind of, growing up with some friends. And then when you're older, you all have taken a different path in life. I'm a sucker for those type of movies. And again, this cast is great. It's a raunchy comedy. And I love that we're getting the return of raunchy comedies, because that's what I grew up on, man. Even I was seeing some raunchy comedies when I wasn't supposed to. I ain't gonna lie. But this looks really funny, man. Again, I'm really, really here for this cast. And I really love what it was bringing to the table as far as, again, just coming of age type of thing of people that grew up together and how they go to separate ways, but then they got to come together, and it just looks like a fun time, man. And I believe it premiered at Sundance, and I think it or not Sundance, but South by Southwest, and I heard some pretty good things about it. So let me know if you guys are excited for Joyride coming out this summer, July 7th to be exact. But moving to Insidious 5, the Red Door. I'm not going to lie. This franchise has a special spot in my heart because, as I mentioned, I had went to school for film and video, and one of my teachers was a producer on the first Insidious. And we were super lucky to have seen, I saw Insidious, the original one, 6 months prior to it coming out um, to the worldwide. And I had to keep it under hush when I saw it. And obviously I wasn't big into social media back then, but as it was getting closer and closer, I was telling all my friends and family, Insidious, Insidious, Insidious. And lo and behold, it kicked off this franchise, man. We're 5 films in. Insidious 1 is still a classic, still holds up to me today. That red demon still scares the hell out of me. And I love the performances by Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson, who we'll talk about here in a second. And part 2 wasn't as good as part 1 for me personally. It's kind of like The Conjuring versus The Conjuring 2. I much more prefer the original than the sequel. And James Wan, man, he does 2 movies and he's out, right? So he didn't come back for Insidious 3, which was not the best. Insidious 3 was the one with the girl. I don't know if it had a subtitle behind it, but it was not that good. There was some moments, trust me, there was some moments that scared the mess out of me when the girl's leg was broken and then the demon came in her room, and it was like the way the camera was. That scene scares me because I just have a thing about, just being like a sleep paralysis where you can't move and you can't, do anything to yourself. I think that was just called like chapter 3. I think that was the subtitle, but it was okay. It was nowhere near the first one or the second one, but it was okay. Then we had the 4th one, which was The Last Key, if I'm not mistaken. And I've only seen it once. And then it brought Ellie back. And I love that actress that plays her, but it was a prequel, and it was just not for me. So I say I like to say the first 2 were good. First one being great, second one being okay, third one being not that great, fourth one not being that great. So it's a 2 for 4 for me, right? But the thing that gets me excited about this new one is that they're bringing back the fundamental elements. Number 1, they're bringing back the original cast. We got the family back. And if y'all seen the trailer, my man Dalton is a grown-ass man in college. And it made me feel old seeing him as an adult. Ty Simpkins, man, that kid has grown up so fast. Iron Man 3, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. And man, and he was just recently in the Brandon Fraser film, The Whale. He was in that movie. He did pretty good in that movie as well. So he's come a long way, man. He's grown up so fast. But they're bringing back all the family, man. But also Patrick Wilson, who I'm a fan of as an actor, he's making his directorial debut. So you're bringing back the OG family. You're bringing back an actor that's been a part of part of the first 2, and has been a part of other horror movies and just movies in general. He's picked up a lot of cues and a lot of things from the directors he's worked with in his great, amazing career. So I'm hopeful, man. Like I said, even with the last 2 being not the greatest, I am gonna, like, by default, I just have to see it because I've been there since day 1, and I'm hopeful, man, that this is a good send-off or beginnings of a new of a new trilogy potentially. But I'll be there for both films, Joyride and Insidious: The Red Door. Let me know if you guys are excited for both of those films. And as far as predictions, the Insidious movies don't make box office crazy money, but I can see it doing like 115, 120 worldwide, and I can see Joyride doing the kind of the similar numbers, with it being kind of a lower budget comedy with a great cast. So yeah, y'all ready for this one? Mission Impossible 7. Damn, 7 of these, y'all. Dead Reckoning, and this is another Spider-Man thing, part 1. Why did y'all have to tell us this is a part 1? But listen, Tom Cruise is back. Rebecca Ferguson is back. Vin Rames is back. Paul Feig, Simon is back. We got such a great cast is coming back. We got newcomers coming in. We got a new villain coming into the mix. That trailer was fire. Tom Cruise is jumping off of a bridge on a motorcycle with a parachute. He's fighting someone on top of a train. What else do you want from this guy? He gives us entertainment, y'all. I am such a big fan of the Mission Impossible. I actually have the box set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I will definitely be revisiting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 prior to this film coming out July 12th, which is on a Wednesday. But of course, it'll be it's going to have a nice little run for the weekend. But I'm a fan of the franchise. And this is one of the rare thing where each film is bigger and better, if you ask me. I would definitely say one's a classic spy espionage film. Two, John, the John Woo of it all and the slow-mo pigeons. Not the biggest fan. Three was kind of like the Fast and Furious kind of switch over to getting more into the action of it all and the crazy stunts of it all with J.J. Abrams. Four, love four with Ghost Protocol. He was in Dubai, climbing the side of that building, crazy stunts. Really love that film. I remember that one particularly because it was, if I'm not mistaken, if you saw Mission Impossible, you saw the first 12 minutes of Batman Dark Knight Rises, or it was the other way around. But either way, it was just a great time to be alive because I was a fan of both of those movies. And I'm a big fan of Tom Cruise. And then we move on to part 5, which is personally my favorite Mission Impossible film, which is Rogue Nation. That was the introduction to Rebecca Ferguson's character, and she just put another spin to the franchise, and she was great, and I just love that film. The big stunt in Rogue Nation was the airplane stunt when he was hanging off the side of an airplane, and I think that's the one when he held his breath under the water when he was trying to get that he was trying to break that sequence, that cold underwater fire film, and the opera scene is so good. Not too far away from that is, which I think a lot of people at home, their favorite Mission Impossible is the most recent one, which is Fallout, with my man Henry Cavill as the villain. And that one is action packed. Obviously, we know the big stunt in there with him, doing a halo jump and just doing all this crazy stuff in that one. And it was nice. That was an action spectacle for sure. So, man, I'm looking forward to this next one. Tom Cruise really, regardless, again, separating the art from the artist conversation, not to the degree of Ezra Miller, but just, his personal beliefs and whatnot. And obviously, those beliefs are nothing to be just kind of ignored because there are some pragmatic things with, his beliefs. But again, separating that conversation and just focusing on the man has always been an entertainer. The man has always delivered to give us some great movies, most recently Top Gun Maverick, which brings me into my box office predictions. I think Tom Cruise is in the sweet spot right now. And I'm not saying this is the highest point of his career, but this is a really good spot for him in his career because Top Gun Maverick really brought back, as people say, it saved theaters. It saved the theatrical experience to a lot of people. And that film was great as it was, 1.5 million. And it was fantastic. So I think there's going to be a lot of carryover, a lot of momentum from what he did with Top Gun Maverick. And then obviously it already has a fandom with the previous 6. And it looks fantastic. So as far as as far as the box office goes with this film, now knowing that this film, I think the highest grossing that the films made was the most recent one, which was like 790 million. I definitely feel confident that this one, the new one, Dead Reckoning Part 1, will make more, but I still don't think it's going to cross that $1 billion mark for me. It could be wrong, but I feel that this movie will still make a pretty good chunk of change. And I think by chunk of change, I think this film will do this amount in the box office once it's said and done. 845 845 to 850 range is what I think. I think it's going to have a really big opening weekend. Again, knowing that we just went over some of the competition around it. It's not a ton of competition surrounding it. Of course, we're still going to get some layover from Indiana Jones. But then you have two kind of smaller niche audiences with a horror film and a comedy the week before. The week after is a pretty big feat, which we're going to get into here. But I think that this is going to have it's going to have legs, just like Top Gun Maverick. So 845 is what I predict that Top Gun, I keep saying Top Gun, but Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1, 845. But I put an asterisk behind that because the following week is a banger in two completely opposite movies. We got Oppenheimer and we got Barbie coming out on the same damn day. Now, for the longest, I thought that one of them was going to move. I thought Barbie was going to move because, listen, Christopher Nolan, I know Tenet didn't do that well financially. I do think that, and I love Christopher Nolan. He's one of my favorite directors working in Hollywood. I think his ego got in the way. I think his ego, he should have did the time. He should have did the Tom Cruise thing and waited to the pandemic. And he would, I think Tenet, I know a lot of people don't like Tenet. I love Tenet. I love Tenet, dude. It is my type of cerebral action. It's a thinking sci-fi movie. We don't get too many of those action sci-fi, cerebral type of movies. And Christopher Nolan is one of those dudes that do that. Him and Denis Villeneuve are capable of those type of films in today's climate. But I know it's not for everyone. And it didn't do that well. And it was in the height of the pandemic. It was listen, Christopher Nolan, I respect you, man. It was an idiotic decision to put that movie out when they did. But neither here nor there. He's one of the only directors, one of the few, not the only, but one of the few that, we talk about Tom Cruise maybe being the only superstar that brings people to the theater. I think Dwayne Johnson's stock has kind of went down with the Black Adam of it all. But I think Tom Cruise is one of the few actors that bring people into theaters and the receipts show. Will Smith is in that conversation. Leo's in that conversation. There's a couple other people in that conversation, but it's not a lot, right? Directors. There's not a lot of directors that get the people in the theaters, right? Not a lot at all. Martin Scorsese's my guy, one of the greatest directors in my opinion, but he doesn't really bring people into seats. It's been a while since he's had a box office success, and I don't think Flowers of the Moon is going to be that one. Steven Spielberg, he's even had, I loved The Fabelmans, but it didn't do that well financially. It had a great award run to it, but it didn't do well financially. Of course, we know Ready Player One was his last big hit. But again, there's very few directors that get, Quentin Tarantino, he has people that get excited, but even then his movies don't do crazy numbers. But Christopher Nolan, Dunkirk was the testament that people will go to see. People don't go out to see war movies, and they don't spend, war movies don't make 700, 800 million in the box office. And that's what Dunkirk did. So Christopher Nolan is that dude. Believe it, because people know they're going to get something special. But the thing that I'm really intrigued by with Oppenheimer is this is the first time Christopher Nolan's done a movie about an actual person. This is a big spectacle biopic. We don't see that in theaters at all. Oppenheimer is the creator of the atom bomb, which, as the poster says, it changed the world forever. So to get a character-focused, character-driven type of narrative with a stellar cast, Cillian Murphy is such an underrated actor. I'm so glad he's leading a movie. He's always a supporting, he works with Nolan a lot, but he's typically supporting. I know he does Pinky Blinders that a lot of people love, and I haven't watched that, but I heard he's great in that. But as far as he's not a leading man, he's never really got that opportunity. There was a horror movie that came out. One of the last horror movies that Wes Craven did. Red Eye, is that the name of it? He was great in that, and it was mostly a Rachel Adams led film, but he was the main villain. Great movie, by the way. But I love Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, Matt Damon. The list goes on and on. It's a stellar cast, man. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big Christopher Nolan film. I know, for the most part, I know people are fans of Inception, of course, the Batman trilogy. My personal favorite of his, going back to the sponsor of today's video with my movie palette, is Interstellar. Is my favorite science fiction film of all time. Love that film. And when people say that Christopher Nolan is, he doesn't know how to do emotions, he doesn't know how to invoke emotions, he did this, that, and I'm like, go watch Interstellar and then come back and talk to me. I know Interstellar is not for everyone. I love that movie, and that's one of my favorite films of all time. But I'm a Chris Nolan fan. I'm really looking forward to Oppenheimer, and I think it's going to do pretty good at the box office. I think this is going to be somewhere in the 700 million range is what I'm thinking. I know that's crazy. To put that in perspective, this is a biopic in the middle of the summer. You're saying, Elliot, it's going to make 700 million? I think so. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I have a feeling that I might not be. 700 million is what I'm thinking about Oppenheimer. But that brings us to the more lighter film, and the complete opposite film, the Barbie movie. My goodness, y'all. This film, we talked about The Flash earlier. This film has been through a lot of iterations. Amy Schumer was supposed to be in it. It was supposed to be more of a comedy and, touching on different concepts of different Barbies and women empowerment and all that stuff. And we still might get some of those elements in this one. But in the hands of one of my favorite directors working today is Greta Gerwig. She is a star in my eyes. Lady Bird was one of my favorite films that came out 2017, I think, is when Lady Bird came out. Saoirse Ronan, she was fantastic in that. I love that film. It's a great coming of age film. But Greta Gerwig, was on the map for me with that movie. And then transitioning into her with, I said 3 for 3, 2 for 2. 2019, your boy gets emotional every time I watch Little Women. That movie, that's been a film that's been redone a bunch of times, but I think the best version of Little Women was her version of it. Great movie. So I'm a Greta Gerwig fan. I love her. She's also an actress turned director, and one of the best ones in my opinion. She is great. So I'm really looking forward to her, who is directing this movie, and she's also writing this movie, but also co-writing this movie is another one of my favorite directors, and that is Noah Baumbach. And if you guys don't know, they're actually a power couple, the geniuses, man. They both make great films. So Greta Gerwig, Noah Baumbach, Academy Award winning type of writer and director. He writes some phenomenal movies. He's kind of in that, Woody Allen type of Wes Anderson type of clout as far as niche audiences, but he's very intellectual, and he always has great stories. If you guys aren't familiar with Noah Baumbach, he just came out with the Netflix movie The White Noise last year, and then prior to that he had another Netflix banger, Marriage Story. And he's also done some other great things throughout his career. Greenberg was another movie of his that I'm slipping my mind right now. He has a lot of great stuff. But Marriage Story is what you all probably might be familiar with his work. He's a great director, and he's writing the Barbie movie. So you got all that, the talent behind the camera, writing the movie, directing the movie. But then in front of the camera, you have some very, very talented individuals. We're led by Margot Robbie, who I think is one of the greatest actors of her generation. If you disagree with me, I recommend you all see I, Tonya and then come back to me. She's great. And, Ryan Gosling is another. I know Ryan Gosling's not for everyone. Some people consider him to be kind of one note. I think the opposite. I think Ryan Gosling has a lot of nuance in his performance, because it's very hard to be a straight man, and not straight sexuality. I'm talking about the characters he plays, very kind of, stoic and doesn't evoke a lot of emotions, but it's in the nuance in his performance that really gets me, is the head tilts, the nods, the response to certain characters. Some movies is very, he doesn't say that much. You might think of films like Drive. You might think of films like, Only God Forgives, but he can do comedy, man. We have Crazy Stupid Love, and I know it's overhyped for some people, but one of my favorite romantic comedies of all, romantic films with a little bit of comedy, is La La Land. I love La La Land. I'm a stand for that film. I know it's not for everyone. It should have won Best Picture that year. No disrespect to Moonlight, but that was my favorite movie of that year. But none of the other there. I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling, big fan of Margot Robbie, and I love the supporting cast. Simu Liu. We have Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, who I'm a big fan of, Alexandria Shipp, who I'm a fan of, Emma McKay, who a lot of people think looks exactly like Margot Robbie. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, I thought the other actress, Samara Raven, was in it. But, I'm just looking at this cast now. It is stacked, man. So many great, talented people. Kingsley Benadir, who's a great actor. Will Ferrell's in the film, so you're gonna get some comedy beats there. And listen, John Cena's in the film apparently. So the cast goes on and on and on. And listen, the trailer was goofy and funny. The first teaser was a replay of Space Odyssey, and it's coming off to be very tongue in cheek. But I mind you, who's doing this movie is Noah Baumbach as a co-writer and directed by the incredible Greta Gerwig. They're not slapstick, tongue-in-cheek, goofy. Their movies have substance. So I think this film will definitely have a lot more than meets the eye. I think just kind of based on some of the stuff I've heard about the film and based on the trailer, crisis. These characters will be in an existential crisis, especially Barbie, who's just been set in this one mindset and just kind of living this kind of structured life and predetermined life. And I think when she steps outside of the Barbie world and she goes to the real world and sees drugs, sex, and all the different stuff, and be exposed to this, it's going to really come down to, being a product of your environment and stepping out of your comfort zone and becoming your own person and setting your own path. So I think there's going to be a lot of life type of reflection type of movie that I think will surprise the audience. And it might shock audience. I think some people think it's all goofy, Ken, and it's going to probably have that kind of self-awareness, but I think it's going to be a lot more impactful, and it's going to be a much more meat to the bone than people anticipate, which I think is great. So what does that mean for box office, Elliot? Is that a box office success? You got Tom Cruise to face against the week before. You got Oppenheimer the same day, and you got some layover for Indiana Jones, and you got a couple movies that we'll wrap up with here in a second. What does that mean for Barbie? Listen, I love Margot Robbie. I love Ryan Gosling. I love the talent behind it, but they don't really sell tickets. I'll be honest with you all. The rumors out there of Margot Robbie being Sue Storm and Ryan Gosling maybe being in the MCU, Ghost Rider or whatnot, or Nova. They don't really bring that many people to the theater. But what does bring people to the theater, and this is another conversation for another day, and that's brand recognition, IP. I don't need to tell y'all, Barbie is a generational IP, from from way back when to now. Girls, boys, men, women grew up with these characters, grew up with these, these toys. And I think they will come out to see a live action Barbie film, just out of curiosity. So I had Christopher Nolan making 845, right, with Oppenheimer. What I'm feeling about Barbie, on a modest budget too, by the way. I don't think it's like, I know it's talent like to the top of the T with this cast, but I don't think just knowing just knowing Greta Gerwig and just knowing how she's able to make the most out of a little bit and really give you something incredible without breaking the box office or breaking the budget. I would be surprised if this did. I would say just the talent alone is probably over 100 million. As far as the production of it all, man, I think the Barbie movie, live action, coming to theaters, will do. Kill y'all. Barbie movie, 550 million, over halfway to $1 billion. 550 million is what I'm confident in thinking that the Barbie can do. And you guys got to remember, these numbers might seem modest, might seem a little bit lower, but you got to remember the state of where we are as theatrical experiences. We don't have these movies that might have in today's society made 150, but 4 or 5 years ago would have made 650. So I'm taking that into account, and I'm taking into the competition of it all. Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible. Again, those are different movies. It's not a ton of crossover, but in just a scenario with a couple, the action fan might want to take their date to go see, and the date wants to go see the romance, Barbie. So I think there's going to be some layover, some crossover, but I think 550 million is pretty. If you're Warner Brothers, you're happy with that number. You are very happy with that number. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's more. But I think this is the low end. If I'm being honest with you, I think this movie is going to have it's going to be a word of mouth, because I think a lot of people will be surprised by how much they're going to get out of this film. You'll see. But let me know. Oppenheimer versus Barbie. I think Oppenheimer is going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Barbie shocks the hell out of the world, man. So let me know in the comments what you all think about those two behemoths of a movie. But we got a couple more things coming out, or one more thing to talk about in the month, and that is another kid-friendly movie with the Disney, the Haunted Mansion, and then we have a smaller independent horror film, which I've heard some good things about at the film festival run, which is Talk to Me. So again, I don't know too much about Talk to Me, because I always try to keep the A24 films under the hush hush. Like, I like to go in as blind and as cold as possible. So I know it has to do with like possession, like these kids are doing something with they possess themselves and it ends up biting them in the ass. That's about the extent of I know about Talk to Me. But as far as the Haunted Mansion goes, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Eddie Murphy version. I love the ride. I did it at Universal or Disney. It was really fantastic. It's a great experience. It seems like this is picking off of more of that and more of the lore. And you talk about cast, Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, huge Lakeith Stanfield fan, huge Rosario Dawson fan. And that young man, I can't think of his name right now, but he was in a show a couple years ago with Barry Jenkins, with the Underground Railroad. And he was the kind of, I don't want to say henchman, but hence the title was about slavery. But he was the slave of a character, and he was just that little kid got some talent on him, y'all. So great cast, cool ride at Disney. Not the biggest fan of the first film, but I think this one's going to have a lot more to offer than that one did. And this cast is great, man. Like I said, Lakeith Stanfield to me is someone that doesn't just do things for a paycheck. So I think there's something with this project, script wise, talent wise, that made him say yes to this. So I'm hopeful for that. And again, Talk to Me is coming out at the end of the month. So before we round it out with August, man, let me see what the chat's talking about. Let me see what y'all thinking about with the Barbie and Mission Impossible and so on and so forth. And we'll wrap things up, man. What did I say earlier? Oh, about an hour and a half, 2 hours later. Let's see. Caitlin, what's up? What's up? Seems like all the movies are coming out now. Yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to, Caitlin. Glad to see you in the chat, by the way. I could take a 10 movie card or something. Definitely gonna watch. What's up, May? How we doing? How we doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Definitely gonna watch Insidious. That's what's up. That's what's up. Zia said I don't do horror demon movies. Hey, I don't blame you. They get under your skin. I still think John Woo should. Oh, Justin, I love you, man, but no sirree, Bobby. What's up, Pat? Mission Impossible films are better than James Bond. I agree, my friend. James Bond. Listen, I don't want to just make it seem like it's like an easy decision. James Bond is fire, but I go Mission Impossible with James Bond. This is for me. And the Bourne movies are pretty cool too. Tom Cruise summer blockbuster. Just go like, yep. I could have said it better myself, Justin. Oh, and Justin's still in chat. I know you mentioned earlier about not being that excited for it, but I might not be looking forward to Dead Reckoning, but I'm glad everyone here is excited. Yes, and listen, Josh, you might be surprised, man. You might be surprised. It might be your favorite one yet. Zia saying Mission Impossible 7. Ooh, 950 to 1 billion. Listen, Zia, you're not too far off because again, I think a lot of momentum from Top Gun. And, the spectacle of it all and the word of mouth of all, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Pat saying Fast 10 could make more money than Mission Impossible. Yeah, I think I had I can't remember. I have to watch the replay. I think I had Fast. I didn't have it making $1 billion, but I had it like at 900 or so. So I think, that was the highest grossing movie I had so far in my breakdown. For those who just tuned in, and then those watching the replay will see. But Little Mermaid to me is going to win the summer with 1.2 billion. That's the only film that I had at $1 billion so far. So yeah. Justin saying, kind of miss Will Smith in the summer blockbuster. ID4. Oh, Independent Day. Yep. Mission. Yep. Yep. Some great stuff. Big Willie weekend. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's been a minute, man. We all know the controversy, slapping fools. But yeah, man, hopefully, is Bad Boys 4 coming out next year? Because I think that's going to do good. And then the announcement of the I Am Legend sequel with Michael B. Jordan might do pretty well. So hopefully, man, Big Will can get back in the box office, the big box office, big box office Willie. Oh, those were the days, man. That's my guy. Since I have to choose watching, you choose him? Oh, I forgot to ask that question. Which one? I'm going to see both. But if you guys had to choose, which one would you be seeing? Barbie and Oppenheimer. Justin said he's going to choose Barbie. Which I don't blame you, man. I'm really excited for that. Honestly, for me, July seems like a pretty lackluster month for summer movies. Really? I don't know. Josh, with Insidious, Mission Impossible, which I know you're not excited for, but Barbie, Oppenheimer, a Disney film, a horror film, it's a pretty solid month. It's not as big as June, I'll give you that. But it's a pretty good, pretty interesting month for movies, in my opinion, Josh. But I respect that, man. I respect that. Let's see. Oh, is that your favorite Christopher Nolan? Or you just saying like kind of narratively speaking, you like the way the story was told, non-linear storytelling, Memento over Tenet? I'll give you that. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm a big Memento fan as well. Zia saying, Zia coming through with the 1 billion or 1.2 for Barbie. Zia, I was at a low end. I was at what, 600 or 500? 550. But I mean, look, Zia, there's a huge generational fan base. So I 1.2. Ooh, that's a big. I can't wait to revisit this conversation at the end of August to see how far off we were, how close we were, so on and so forth. I'm a big Jennifer Lawrence fan. I've seen the previews of a couple times. It looks funny. Oh, you're talking about No Hard Feelings. Yeah, like I said, I like Jennifer Lawrence, and we really haven't seen her do comedy ever like that. So I'm really excited for that. But been out of it, but us Tetris already are summer. Am I reading that wrong? Let me know. Clarify what you mean. Oh, Tetris. I think if you're talking about the Tetris movie, yeah, that came out earlier this spring. Pinky Blinders was great. Just not much. The final season. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got to catch up on Pinky Blinders. I heard it's, yeah, like you said, I heard it was fantastic. Marriage Story was good. It was good. Very emotional. Really enjoyed that film. Nerdy Girl Film, congrats on the 50K. Thank you, Nerdy Girl. I appreciate you stopping through. And again, for those that are maybe just kind of coming in, you know, you went to get something to eat, hanging out with the buddies and a friend and the family, and just tune in. I did like almost like 45 minutes of like talking about the 50K. So definitely you can watch the replay. But if you're coming in, congratulating me, I really appreciate the support, y'all. Thank you so much for being here and supporting the channel. Marriage Story was so damn good, really good. Yeah, Kylo Ren. Yeah, Adam Driver. Yeah. Yeah, man, Adam Driver was great. The first time I was introduced to him was my girlfriend at the time was a big, and I ain't gonna lie, I watched Girls with her. It was a show that I know not everyone loved, but it was a show that I watched kind of with her. But I ended up being a fan of the show in general. But that was the first time I was exposed to Adam Driver. And then, of course, seeing him in many other films later. He's a fantastic actor. And Justin, I know you're a big Marvel fan, like I am, comic book fan. You know, word on the street is Kylo Ren, Adam Driver is our next Reed Richards. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Barbie cast, yes, great cast, great cast. Here, hoping the movie opens with the Barbie. It has to, man. It has to. Let's see here. It's definitely not giving a. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing. Like the whole joke at the end of the first trailer, the whole beach off thing. I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be as kid friendly as you would think a Barbie IP would be, but we'll see. Oh, you think? I don't know, Jess. I think it's gonna be a little bit more mature than that, man. I think it's gonna be some more adult oriented jokes in that film. Yeah. So you guys are seeing my bar. What I had at 650. Yeah. I know it's on the low end, guys. I know. I might be tripping. Barbie will be very big. Oppenheimer will underperform. We got $1 billion for Barbie. I know Zia had $1 billion, so Justin's at $1 billion as well. Hey, you guys might be right. And if you are, I will give you your flowers. But it's just so much going on. I don't know, but we'll see, man. We will see. We got some people coming in, stopping through, showing some love. My man Kevin saying, been watching you since oh man, what a great show, Kevin. What a great show. I missed that show. That was a great show on FX with my man from Ex Machina, Alex. It's on the tip of my tongue. Alex something. What is my man's name? Alex Garland. How can I forget? The great Alex Garland. Devs was such a great show. So thank you, Kevin, for being around. That was 2019, 18, I think, man. So that's been a while, man. I appreciate the support being here since that long, man. Zia Girls, it was right. I really enjoyed Girls. I mean, I wasn't the target audience by any means. Like I said, it was my girlfriend was kind of, at the time was my entry point to the show, but then I stuck around. Even if she wasn't watching, I'm like, I'm gonna watch Girls this week, see what's going on. I don't remember those characters' names, but I saw all the episodes, all the show. The last season didn't really end that great from what I remember, but it was a very interesting show. Very interesting show. For any Atlanta fans, Donald Glover is in Girls. He popped up in one of the wasn't the final season, but he popped up in 1 or 2 episodes. So yeah. All right, guys. So let's wrap this thing up and talk about the end of the summer, which we got some things to look forward to. Coming out August 4th, we got 2 movies to look forward to, 2 different movies. We got the Meg 2, The Trench, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So let's start off with the movie that I'll probably go see. And that is the Meg 2, The Trench. Now, I say probably, but it's not a guarantee because listen, I haven't seen the first Meg. I think it's on HBO Max. I'm going to probably see it before the second one comes out. I like Jason Statham, but when the first Meg came out, that was one of those, that was during the time when you had options. You can be like, I can skip this one. I want to see this one. We had options, right? Like we do this summer. So for whatever reason, it just kind of went on the radar. And listen, I like B movies, over the top, goofy type of men versus creature. In this case, Jason Statham versus a shark. So it went under the radar. I heard that it knows what it is, which I can always appreciate a film that knows what it is. But again, I haven't seen the first one, but I will inevitably see it before the second one comes out. And I heard the description of the second one, the trailer they played at CinemaCon, is the shark, or like it's like a evolutionary trailer where it's like you see all these creatures, one's bigger than the next, and you see the megaton, whatever the name of the meg shark is, eating a dinosaur. Say less. I'm there. I am in there like swimwear, man. So again, I haven't seen the first one, but I plan on seeing it before I see the second one. But let me know if there's any Meg fan. And I don't even box office wise for this. I don't even know what the first one did. I would say the Meg, end of the summer, people going back to school, kind of last of the blockbuster season. 200 million. Is that a suffice? I don't know what the first one did, but I would say 200 million for the Meg. Not a little spoiler. We're not there quite yet. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, I'm a fan, grew up with these characters, love them all. I've seen all of them not all of them in theaters, but I've seen the ones that were in theaters. I've seen those 5,000-6,000 times. Didn't really keep up with the animated shows as the years went on, Nickelodeon and other variations of movies that were in theaters that maybe didn't blow the box office doors off. But I don't know why. I saw the trailers. It looked cool, kind of that Spider-Man type of design. I know another Seth Rogen project coming out this summer. And they're teenagers, which is always cool. But it didn't really move the needle for me. But hopefully it's just one of those things where the first teaser trailer was just, just a little appetizer. But then once we get close to the release, it's going to show us the good stuff. So again, I'm not overly excited for it. Again, if I were to pick between those two, because they're coming out on the same day, August 4th, I'm going to probably go for the Meg, even though I haven't seen the first one. But it doesn't mean I'm hating on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. But it just didn't move the needle for me for that first trailer. But let me know which one you all are most excited for coming out on the same day, August 4th. And then rounding out the month, we got our August 11th Gran Turismo, which I didn't see the trailer, but I played the games growing up. And then we got a Dracula film, the Last Voyage of the Dementor. I saw that trailer. That looks pretty good. There's a nice cast there. So, end of the summer type of films that one might do better than the other. I think they're going to probably be in that same kind of, word of mouth might be pretty solid, but I don't see them necessarily breaking box office records. I can see Gran Turismo doing, 200 million or 215. And then this one probably doing like around 100 million by the time it runs its box office results. But a film that I'm intrigued by, and if you guys know me, I'm a big DC fan. This is the second to last official under the banner of the DCEU. And I still don't know. James Gunn hasn't flat out confirmed, but he kind of confirmed, but didn't at the same time. Said that this might carry over to his new DCU. We'll see about all that. But putting that aside, my knowledge of the character is very little. Very little. I'm not that familiar with the Blue Beetle. I've heard of him throughout the years of reading different various comic books. I've seen him pop up in various different comic books that I've read with different characters. I've seen him in animated shows. So I'm on the periphery. I know of the character, but I don't know the beats and the lore and the mythology and the and the backstory. So it's kind of exciting because it's very rare that I'm not up to speed with these characters that I love, because I love DC. DC over Marvel for me all day, every day. I grew up a DC fan, so it's just inherently, I just kept that flag going. But the trailer was cool, man. I don't watch Cobra Kai, but I know he, the actor that is in that show is a fan favorite. He fits the part, man. He looks like he can handle the hand-to-hand combat. He looks like he can carry the film. And from everything I'm hearing, that they seem to put an emphasis on the family element, right? That it kind of has that Shazam, Miles Morales type of family being the backbone of the character and really what pushes the character to be the hero that he needs to be. And then it has that Venom, type of lore, and that Green Lantern type of lore of an alien attaching itself to a human and having the abilities to create things with their minds and talking to the thing, the AI, not the AI, but the alien, symbiotic relationship like what we got in Venom. So you get those vibes. It's at the end of the summer. Again, taking the whole, is this character going to carry over to the DC or not? It got to do well first, right? And I think this film, for the Latino community, I think they're going to champion this film. I think a lot of other, ethnicities like myself will go and support this film. So I'm here for the Blue Beetle, man. I hope it does well. I hope it's a good movie. And if it is, I hope we get more of that iteration of the character moving forward, because I do know it has ties to Blue Beetle, or not Blue Beetle, but Booster Gold, which I know was announced during the DC slate from James Gunn himself with the Monsters and Gods, and that is the show that he's working on, or not him individually, but the show that will be a part of that slate. And I know that Booster Gold and Blue Beetle have a lot of crossover there, so we'll see, man. I'm rooting for this film. The trailer, like I said, didn't like blow me. It didn't blow me away. You can tell I've been talking for almost 2-3 hours. It didn't blow me away, but I am very excited for what's to come with this character and all the characters attached to it, and hopefully it will get a continuation in the new DC universe. So, look, man, we have been talking for almost 3 hours, and rightfully so, because we spent the first 45 minutes of the hour having a good time, celebrating the big accomplishment of the channel crossing 50,000 subscribers. And in the last hour and a half or so, we've been breaking down all the major movies coming out this summer. We got a full summer slate to look forward to, y'all. And a lot of reviews to look forward to, a lot of discussions, hopefully, about these films to talk about. And on top of the shows that will be coming out, on top of the movies that will be streaming on various streaming platforms. Again, we support the WGA, so hopefully we can get more movies, more shows in the works with them getting what they need to survive and to make a living. So, man, this was fun, y'all. This is the first time I've ever did this. Some things I definitely want to change if I do this again come next year, or maybe do one for the fall. And we will revisit this. I definitely will put this on the calendar for the end of August. We'll have to come back to this video and watch my goofy, crazy predictions for the Barbie movie not doing $1 billion, or maybe being crazy thinking that the only movie I think will make $1 billion this summer will be The Little Mermaid. So I might be wrong. I might be right. You all might be right. You might be wrong. We'll have to revisit this come August, the end of August, to see where all these movies landed. At the end of the day, I hope all these movies are great. At the end of the day, I hope all these movies do well. And I hope that the writers get their money so we can continue to get these movies in theaters to be excited for. So before I wrap up, man, let me see these final comments here. And then later tonight, I'll be back on to do my Succession after show. And then, looking forward to stuff coming in the coming days. So let me see the last comments here, and we'll call this a day, man, because I am thirsty and I got to finish that project that I talked about the earlier stream. I got to build something, and I'm not a big handy guy, so I got to definitely find something, some videos to watch to help me build what I need to build. Let's see here. We were talking about girls earlier. I like girls, but Broad City was way more relatable. Shout out to Broad City. I love that show. Broad City and the show with the three dudes. Just better have my honey. What is the name of that? Workaholics. Workaholics and Broad City were my double features during that time. I love Broad City. Love that show so much. And I definitely would say Broad City, for me, was funnier than Girls. But narratively speaking, Girls had a little bit more integral storylines and plots and stuff like that. But Broad City was great. I love that show so much. Justin saying he's looking forward to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Read the new story. Last Robin highly. Okay, nice. Yeah, I don't follow the newer teenage stuff, and I never read the comics. I only saw the movie when it came out in the 90s, and then a couple animated to the 90s. But yeah, just it looks interesting, man. David Harbour and the idea of like taking these video gamers and then having them actually be race car drivers is pretty cool, man. Pretty cool stuff. Watching Blue Beetle rather than trailer. Yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to see more and learn more about this character. I'm not too familiar with Blue Beetle, so yeah. Gonna go see it. Yep, that's what's up. I would be surprised, Zia. I would be surprised. Ooh, I forgot to give my prediction. Blue Beetle. I think I'm gonna do slightly more than the first Shazam, which I think the first Shazam did like 380. I think this would be like 450 for Blue Beetle. But Zia's like Shazam or Blue Beetle about to blow the doors off. I need to stop saying blow. But hey, Z, if it makes that money, you best believe he's gonna carry over to the DC to the DCU if it does that well. Justice saying, yeah. Definitely stand with the writers. And leave a like, everyone. Yes. If you haven't already. Yep. All right, y'all. 2 hours and 46 minutes and 48 seconds later, we have come to the end of this incredible stream. At least it was incredible for me because I love hanging out with you all. Hope you all had a good time. Again, from the beginning of the stream aspect of it, we were here to celebrate the 50,000 subscribers, which is just crazy to say out loud, but it's all due to you all supporting this channel. So thank you 1,000 for that continued support. We will be doing more on this channel to make this a full-time opportunity to be with you all a lot more with the live streams and reviews. So that's something that I definitely am speaking into existence. And then as far as these movies, man, it's a lot to look forward to, as we talked about today's preview. A lot of stuff to look forward to. So more movies, more content. Pay these writers what they need for they can continue to make this content and make a living off of this content, and so on and so forth. So for me, to you, everyone, and also shout out to earlier, we got some heavy hitters that came through showing some love with the super chat. Zia with the super chat earlier, my man Brandon from Just My Opinion earlier, who will be going live in the next hour with his superhero show on his channel. D Movie Man with the super chat earlier, the homeboy Utaka showing some love earlier, and then the homegirl Nisi Smith showing some love. So I mean, you guys are just so awesome. I can't thank you enough for that love in that way. And then everyone that watched, liked, shared, commented, you guys are awesome. Got a couple more comments before we wrap up this thing. Caitlin saying thank you, or saying again, congrats on the 50K. You deserve this and all the hard work these past few years. Well, thank you, Caitlin. Can't wait to talk about the Marvel TV shows later this year because I know you're a big Marvel fan like I am. Zia was here all the way through. Shout out to Zia. Shout out to all y'all, but I know Zia was here from the very beginning, and I thank you for being here this entire time. And for everyone that was here that maybe didn't leave a comment. If you've been here since the beginning or been here for 5 seconds, I appreciate you. I missed it, but Spider-Man, the replay. We talked about Spider-Man earlier. I'm going to probably put time codes in this before tomorrow or something like that. Always thank you, Justin. Can't wait to catch up with you, man, when we get back to those Marvel discussions with Secret Invasion and Loki later this year. L, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the support. And my man Justin with the last comment here. Looking forward to the next time to hang with you in the community. Tonight, Jay. Tonight, I'll be live talking Succession. If you guys are in Succession, I'll be going live talking about episode 7, the tailgate party. So I'll see you guys later tonight. And hopefully, I'll have a little new situation going on if I can figure it out. More to come on that, and hopefully tonight. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the support. Thank you for watching this video. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Be safe. Be kind to one another. Love one another. And I'll see you guys later tonight. Peace out, everyone.